Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Beyond the Red Zone, a leftist sports show that we do here on This Is Revolution. Sometimes we talk sports, sometimes we take calls, but all the time we talk shit. Lots and lots of it. Tons of it. Too much of it. Sometimes we get derailed by the shit talk. If you're new to this channel and expecting something a little different, we do have a bit of a deeper dive into stuff beyond just the numbers and the players. Let me bring in my co-host with this endeavor. Please welcome Mac.
What up, everybody?
How are you?
Running around looking like an NBA player with a fucking compression sleeve on because your boy got tendonitis.
It's dope, dude.
It's fucking awful because, like, I don't know, trying to like lift a cup to my mouth to drink is just like agony. And they're like, yeah, heat ice and rest. And I'm like, I don't want to heat ice and rest. I want to go to the gym, shit up, and put it down. And I can't do any of that. So,
you know,
it's very upsetting.
This is getting old. This is getting old. There's certain things I can't do anymore.
That's what everybody's like. Like my doc was like, hey, you know, you're going to be more prone to things like that. And I was like, why? I went through 16 years in the infantry, man. And she dead ass looks at me and goes, why do you think you're going to be more prone to stuff like that? You did 16 years in the infantry and you're over 40. And I was like, oh.
Dude, tendonitis sucks. I was trying to do this thing where I was like, I'm going to do body weight. And if anything, very lightweight. Like I have some 25-pound dumbbells, you know, lightweight. And what happens? I overdo it with the push-ups and, you know, pinch nerve.
Yeah, we all can't be Herschel Walker, who did 400 of them every day for his entire existence.
Dude. You know, I was trying to Herschel Walker it. I was like, can I see a difference in my body shape? And I was starting to see some changes. And then all of a sudden, last week, it's just, you know, I don't have a compression sleeve because I'm trying to muscle through it.
Yeah, dude, I did the first few days and was just like, no, this is awful. I don't want to do this anymore.
I did meet a very nice young lady that was a
yoga instructor.
No, I didn't meet a yoga. This is a while back. She's not dead. She's a I don't want to say a physical therapist, but she's someone in the fitness world. I wouldn't say a fitness influencer. She's just a fitness. I can't exactly explain what it is, because I'll say it wrong. But she taught me like how to use a tennis ball. That didn't sound right, but she's.
All right, listeners, we are getting into it already, just like last episode. Now, Jason, I think what everybody wants to know, were these tennis balls that looked like anal beads, or was it just a free-flowing tennis ball? Like, you know. Oh. Uh-oh, he's got the giggles, everybody.
Steve said Jason's on that Deshaun Watson recovery program.
Just fucking shooting ropes at physical therapists.
Did you read that? Can you read that comment on the bottom there, Mac?
That's why it's really. We aren't getting into it. We're getting off on Jason's chest. Yeah. Oh, JB, man, I'll tell you right now, if Kiana from Flex Appeal, like, remember at like 6 a.m. on ESPN2, like back in like, oh, bruh.
It was not Kiana from Flex Appeal, but this woman was ridiculously ripped.
Kiana made me feel things that I wasn't prepared for. Like, she was like the first like ripped like woman that I was like, wow. And then now I find myself looking at that more and more. Like, when I started watching wrestling again, I was like, oh my God, I have to marry Rhea Ripley. I have to.
They're all Kiana.
Right? It's just the height just differentiates between like Zelina Vega, who's I think is only like 5 feet tall, and then you get to like Rhea and freaking Tiffany Stratton. Oh my God, man.
Some of those women are really tiny.
Yeah.
Like super. When I did that WrestleMania thing, I was shocked at how small some of the new wrestlers were compared to like when like Wendy Richter was walking around. Not that she's not a giant woman either.
Yeah. I mean, dude, Alexa Bliss, like, she is a tiny woman who was like the #1 women's wrestler for what, like 5 or 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then they had that huge influx of women from like NXT that came in, and it's just like, I want to wrestle them and lose every match. Like, I'm okay with it. Like, I'd be all right with it. I'd even let Rhea roll me up and pin me the way she does, which is very disrespectful, you know. But
have you kissing your own ass?
Oh, dude, yeah. You know, like what she does is when she does Riptide, like she spikes you like back first, and then she just rolls the woman's legs up like she's like, you know, essentially plowing him in the ass, and that's how that's her pin. And I'm like, you know what, Rhea, if you if you need anybody to practice on, you know,
that's what you need, boo.
Whatever you need, Rhea.
You can show me how to use a tennis ball.
That's right. Start me like a lawnmower. Whoa, Jesus Christ.
Speaking of wrestling, the director and I from Kayfabe, he came down to Mexico for the weekend so we could like finish it. And instead of finishing it like we thought we were going to do, we turned it into a series.
Yeah.
We're like, nope, let's extend this and let's extend this and let's extend that. So
honestly, I think you get more play out of it that way, man. Like, you remember when Vice was like, were doing Dark Side of the Ring. Remember those episodes at the beginning were kind of long. You know, they were like movies, and they were just like, well, people are watching, and we can get more out of this if we chop it down to like 50 minutes and just keep a series going, you know. And it's going on 3 years now.
That's, you know? I mean, there's a lot of different avenues because there's certain I'm not going to get into it on the show. We'll talk about it more on This Revolution Champagne Room tomorrow, but definitely we were not fighting, but having kind of an argument about what to keep in and what to put out. And that became, let's just turn it into a series because you can flesh out certain ideas.
Yeah.
These things that are going to be almost side quests in the linear story, we can do a series episode about it, and it could still tie into the main thesis. So.
Yeah.
More work. It's going to take a little longer for the finished thing, but we can release an episode because the first episode is pretty much done. But beyond that, because you guys don't listen to this to hear us talk about regular This Is Revolution things. You guys listen to this to hear us bitch about sports, so we can bitch about sports with you guys in the chat, which is why watching this live is so important. Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern is when we do this live. Mac, real quick, just do an NFL roundup. Niners demolished Philadelphia.
Oh, yeah. And you know what? That's why they went and signed Shaq Thompson, who Indy just released, because their linebackers aren't good. They're getting like, I'm not like trying to be mean because these guys are professionals and I'm sitting here bitching about them in the comfort of my home, but they're not passing the eye test, dude. Like, they are getting burnt over the middle. I mean, when you have a dual weapon like McCaffrey, who you can put in the backfield or split him out wide or put him in the slot, and you just let him run a slant across, he's going to beat those damn near every linebacker anyway. But when you are slow and don't play the pass well, you're just making your life so much harder than it is. Like, honestly, if I'm Philly going forward, I maybe don't play 3 linebackers. I maybe go 2 and bring in an extra safety to kind of nip that in the bud, because
a tweener position that was real popular before all the rules.
Yeah, and monster backs are still probably a more important thing now because of how the spread has been implemented across the NFL, as well as, like copying some of the things that college games brought. And, you have to have guys like that, right? Like, I don't want a linebacker on Christian McCaffrey. Fuck no. Bring in a safety, let him play closer to line where his only job is to really guard the center of the field. And that would take away, outlet passes to like George Kittle, slants. I mean, you can't really, excuse me, guys, you can't really stop a slant from San Francisco because you got Ayuk or Debo that is just so much faster than everybody on the field. And it's just, I think the Niners are going to be like, they kind of had that rough patch for about 3 games. And I think this is the game that kind of like springs them forward to kind of overtaking Philly for the number 1 seed in the NFC. But I mean, Philly still has everything there they need to be the same dominant team they've been in the past couple of years, right? Just make the adjustments. And that's always hard, especially when you like, my system's implemented, right? Like, a lot of coaches get stuck in that and they're like, we'll just play through this. And like I said, their linebackers are slow. Will they crush you in the run game when they're playing somebody who's not as fast as Christian McCaffrey? Like, they'll clog that hole and put the wood to you. But I mean, they've something's got to give, man, because if they just keep allowing the center of the field to be constantly, inundated with slants where the opposing players are that much faster than the linebackers, these 30, 40 point outbursts that they allow offenses have, that won't be just an outburst. That'll be like a constant, and let's face it, the NFL is a very copycat league, and we're seeing teams that are figuring out, like the Browns defense right now, right? They're keeping a tight end or an extra running back to chip at the ends, especially Myles Garrett, which when they can't collapse the pocket with their front line, they struggle, and the Browns defense has not looked very good, the last few weeks. So we'll just see what kind of adjustments Philly makes. Otherwise, this is going to be San Fran running away with it.
Do you think that San Francisco is maybe just a better matchup problem for Philadelphia than the other teams in the division?
Dude, Philly or San Fran's going to be a horrible matchup for everybody.
I'm sorry. It's either San Francisco or the city.
Okay. The city, then. San Francisco. That beautiful jewel of San Francisco Bay. Right. But San Francisco is going to be an awful matchup for whoever they play going forward, because they are just that much better than everybody. I mean, dude, they swung Chase Young, who maybe he hasn't panned out the way that everybody saw him coming out of Ohio State, but he also played on a really bad Washington team with bad coaching that has shown they cannot develop young players, right? So can you imagine him just maybe taking like a 1-year prove it deal, after this season with San Francisco, where he gets to play across from Bosa for a whole year? Like, that's just not even fair,
And that
right? Like,
defense is already solid.
yes, it's so good. And they bring in this guy who actually he's looked really good and just learning the playbook, but like Shanahan, like I've said it a million times, right? Like, he's a fucking hell of a coach. And I mean, I dare say, minus the Super Bowl wins, he's probably even better than his dad.
Wait till he gets those victories, because remember,
Yeah.
his dad was also where he failed as an OC as well. His dad succeeded in '94.
Yeah. I mean, dude, at one point, Shanahan had, you know, look at all the quarterbacks that he had to cycle through, especially in Cleveland. And then he gets stuck with Manziel, right? Can you imagine Mayfield with Shanahan if Jimmy Haslam wasn't an idiot and chased him and Mike McDaniel off the sideline? Like, come on, man. Mayfield wouldn't have taken on the chin the way he did. But
Those
yeah,
guys are making football very enjoyable to watch. Those
they
two
make
coaches right there.
they make it fun. Like, and that's the thing. Like, the fucking poor guy, the special teamer from Tennessee, their special teams coach got fired because they had 2 punts blocked. On the second punt, the punter got hurt. So Ryan Tannehill had to go out there and hold for a field goal, and he fucked it up and they missed it. Right. So like the special teams coach got fired, but like the punter and the long snapper on Twitter like revealed all these fucking like Facebook messages they got. Like, I hope you get cancer and die. Like, I hope you blow out your ACL next game. Like, I love my teams, and I was distraught last Saturday when Ohio State dropped the 3rd game in a row against that horrible school.
That shall not be named.
Yep, exactly. But I gave myself 15 minutes, and it was like, all right, time to act like an adult. Um, I could never fathom, like, what never crossed my mind on that Saturday? Finding Kyle McCord on Twitter and just ripping him a new asshole in a DM, right? It never occurred to me. Why? That kid probably feels like shit already.
Yeah.
He's been getting shit on all season, and to the point where he went into the transfer portal. So Ohio State's going into a tough Cotton Bowl matchup with Mizzou with a backup quarterback, and I think only 2 active running backs, because 3 of them, 1 declared for the draft and another 2 went into the portal. So it's bowl season's going to be rough, I think, for the next couple years until coaches figure out how this whole portal thing's going to work. Because
before we get into the transfer portal, because this is going to be part of the college discussion, I just want to kind of wrap up the NFL. So you have San Francisco as your dark horse candidate out of the NFC.
Yeah. I mean, they look so much better than everybody else. I don't think the playoffs are going to be easy in the NFC unless, well, the number 2 seed is going to get, like the wild card, or whatever team ends up playing the NFC South champ. That's going to be a gimme, because that division is so ass. It is so
wow.
ass.
No upsets for you, huh?
Not from the South. No
Falcons upset.
No, I mean, they're not good. They have so much talent, but like having Ritter there, I really think Jesse Bates the third may be the best free agent signing from the offseason. That guy's just looked amazing in that defense. But like, when you leave that defense on the field for 45 minutes a game, everybody gets tired, man.
Everybody gets tired.
Like, it's just, especially like, you got to think Atlanta can end up playing, Detroit, struggling on defense, but God, I don't want to see their offense on the field. Like, I don't want to see them if I'm a defensive player. San Fran, Philly, like Dallas, who maybe they even win a playoff game this year if they get matched up with the Falcons. Who knows? But like, there's just so many good teams that can come up with stops against the Falcons offense because for whatever reason, Arthur Smith's like, we got Bijan, we got Kyle Pitts. Hey, Tyler Allgear, we're going to get you in here, run a dive. Do it 3 straight times. You know, like,
Drake, you're free Drake London.
Yeah, I mean, in London too. You're right. You're absolutely right. Like, so you have what could be in a decent offensive system, a tight end who has the potential to be a Kittle, you know, or oh my gosh, I forgot the guy's
Shannon Sharp. He has a potential to be Shannon Sharp.
Yeah, well, I mean, Sharp blocks 10 times better than Kyle Pitts does, or Sharp did at the time, but then you have London, who is a burner on the outside, and Bijan, when given the chance to carry the ball, picks up yards. It's just
he's the real deal.
Oh yeah. He just needs a real head coach and a real offensive coordinator and a real quarterback. And it's just like,
well, everybody's got okay. Let's before we move on to the next team, because we don't need to cover all the teams. Do you think Atlanta, if this person falls, makes a play for someone like now why am I blanking on his name? Caleb Williams at USC.
I mean, the thing is, Caleb is going to go 1 or 2.
You don't think the talk about him being a crybaby and painting his nails is going to hurt him?
No, because scouts will overlook damn near everything if you show that you can play football. Like Brian Bosworth, like the dude actually sat down with scouts in the middle of injecting himself with steroids, and he still ended up getting drafted, right? Tony Mandarich, same thing. Dude literally talked himself and bench pressed himself and being a number 1 overall pick, right? I don't think him painting his nails and calling him a crybaby, whatever. Dudes are different now, right? Especially when you put everything out there, right? Like with Caleb Williams, a dude just doesn't want to lose. I get that. Yeah. Like he's the Black Shoresy, and if anybody doesn't know Shoresy, that's the offshoot show from Letterkenny where he goes, he's playing like senior, what he calls whale shit hockey, and he's like goes to the worst team, and he's like, I never want to lose again, right? And rather than play a team better than him because he knows that they're going to get fucking destroyed, just starts a massive brawl and it cancels the game. So he didn't have to lose. Right? I'm not saying Caleb Williams and go out and start a fight so he doesn't have to lose, but like the guy's just passionate about the game and he doesn't like losing. And you got to also think the dude won the Heisman Trophy last year. A lot of expectations coming into this year. And he was not helped by Lincoln Riley at all.
At all.
He didn't put a serviceable offensive line in front of Williams. He might as well have just played, with no defensive people on the field for as good as they were, and he had to carry that team by himself, and that, I imagine that can get tiring real fucking quick and fray your nerves when you are expected to compete for Pac-12 championships. And, you, because of poor recruiting and poor coaching, especially on the defensive side of the ball, and you only win 7 games. That I can see how that could, wear on him. I'm not going to fault the dude for crying. Like, I get it.
Yeah, you can't faulting a man for crying in 2023, even in 83 is weird.
Yeah.
I've never understood that.
Yeah. I didn't get it either. Like, get it out, man. Have a fucking good cry.
It's a news cycle where let's dissect this because everything is woke and bad. But
that's right.
Jesus.
All right. Caleb Williams is a woke snowflake, but the only people bitching about him crying on the sideline are a bunch of conservatives.
I don't hear his teammates complaining about him.
Fuck no. His teammates loved him.
He's one of the most exciting college football players I've seen in a long time. He's
Yes.
ridiculously accurate. He actually can run plays from the pocket, and he doesn't get rattled.
Yeah,
like
I mean,
most people do with fleet feet, right?
I'm hoping that the Patriots will just continue to suck the rest of this year, and the Cardinals pick up another few games so the Pats can pick one overall and get Caleb. But I just think out of spite, because I have been a spoiled Pats fan for 20 years,
Mhm.
they'll go with Drake May, and I don't
Oh,
trust any quarterback from Carolina.
in North Carolina, we
I
said
don't.
this. There's a few
I
things we don't trust. There's a few
well,
things that you do not trust: the government, a big butt and a smile, and a quarterback from North Carolina.
as well as farting after Taco Bell. Don't trust that either. I dare say you might even trust the fart after Taco Bell more than a Carolina
More than
quarterback.
a North Carolina quarterback. Sorry, guys. Maybe the show will get big enough that Drake May will tweet at us, but
You know who I'm waiting for? Like, it'll probably happen like tonight. Mitchell Trubisky is just like Googling his name, and he's like, "Oh, these guys want to talk shit on me."
somebody, Joey Nichols says, "LOL, Trubisky PTSD syndrome."
Yeah, how PTSD? Yes.
I mean, who else? Who went before Trubisky? Was he the first one in the first round?
Remember Trubisky was taken in, what was it, 17, wasn't it?
17 or 18.
Yeah. And I believe he was
Who
10th
went?
overall, and the Bears traded a massive amount of picks to move up to get him.
Okay.
And of course, it's
yeah,
the Bears. The
Are the
Bears.
Bears, real quick about the Bears, are the Bears going to take a quarterback, or is Justin Fields the guy?
See, this is the thing. I want Justin Fields to succeed because I love Justin Fields.
Mhm.
The one Ohio State jersey I have, Justin Fields, right? I love the guy. Oh, thank you, Joey. You're right. He did go second overall. Jeez. But they did move a ton of picks, right? To move up to get him. Because like the Bears were supposed to pick at 10. Maybe that was it. I'm sorry. I'm showing my age here. I apologize, everybody. 3-2. Jesus Christ.
That's still a big move.
Yeah, that is a lot of picks, But I want Justin Fields to succeed, but I think maybe getting the hell out of Chicago is the best thing for him. Right? I mean, Eberflus, I don't know if he keeps his job after this season, honestly. Like, we've already seen Frank Reich at the axe in Carolina after 11 games.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We're seeing more and more of these team owners that are like, fuck, I'm not getting the return on the investment I thought I was getting, so I will fire you. I will pay out the rest of your contract for you to not coach my team anymore. And I'm gonna go pay for a whole other guy to bring in a whole other group of guys that I'm gonna have. You know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah.
like Dave Tepper will be hiring his 8th coach, including interims, since he bought the team in 2018.
Jesus.
And get this, he owns Charlotte FC, the MLS team. 3 managers this season. 3 this season, their second year. They had 2 last year. The first guy made it 8 games before he fired him.
That's that corporate. That's that new corporate mindset, right? That's that I come from the financial world. If we're not turning a profit in 5 seconds, it ain't worth it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's a whole different corporate behemoth that you're dealing with. Moving on from basement teams, let's talk about some of the teams in the playoffs. Does the Dallas Cowboys have a legitimate shot to make some noise in the playoffs?
Their defense has looked a million times better than in years past. And dude, I want to say yes. And it's the Cowboys. Go, win 13, 14 games in the regular season and somehow choke in the first round, right? Or their first playoff game.
Mm-hmm.
It just, Dallas seems to do that. year in, year out. And then we have to spend the next, 5 months hearing Cowboys fans cry about a very innocuous pass interference call in week 3 that cost them something, right? Because that's what Cowboys fans do. But the fact of the matter is it's a talented team, very talented.
Very talented.
The Cavender twin, Haley, that just came back to play at TCU, which is located where?
Dallas area.
And guess who she's dating? The
CeeDee
starting
Lamb?
tight end. The starting tight end for
Oh,
the
wow.
Cowboys. Yeah. And he's kind of balled out the last 8 games or so. So, it's sorry, Steve.
Steve says keep talking about the Cowboys and I will unsubscribe.
It's gonna be funny. We keep going, Jason. You're gonna get like a cease and desist, and then a letter saying from an attorney saying my client would like all money donated back.
Oh, that would be so sad.
God, that would hurt my feelings.
Oh my God.
Oh, Steve. Sorry, Steve. But they do. They got a shot. Do I expect them to do anything? I expect them to act like the Cowboys when they hit the playoffs because they just seem snake bitten. I mean, that's how I look at it. Like, I think they're so snake bitten, they won't win another playoff game until Jerry Jones is dead.
Oof. Oof. Don't tell that to the Raiders. Does Anthony Pierce stay? Does Anthony Pierce stay in Oakland? Or sorry, in Las Vegas?
Oh, dude, I think Mark Davis would be an idiot to not just say, hey. Like, honestly, they're playing a lot better. They seem to like enjoy playing football again, which under Josh McDaniels, everybody just looked like over it, like honestly, Max Crosby, who is one of the more dominant pass rushing ends in the NFL, that guy looked like he's just like, I have to do this to justify the big contract extension I signed, but I really just want to make it to off season right now. Like I want to go on vacation. This isn't fun. And I honestly, if I were Mark Davis, I'm just going down to him saying, hey, I like what you're doing. Let's remove the interim tag, and you work with that front office to make sure you're plugging as many holes as you can in that franchise, because there's a lot of them that, need to be plugged. They need a number 1 wideout. Like Jacoby Myers is a great slot receiver, but he's not a number 1 dude. I don't think Devontae is going to stay there. I think, honestly, what you trade him, get picks. That way you can build, flesh out that roster. You need to rebuild the entire offensive line. They're going to need a quarterback. I think they really need to mend fences with Josh Jacobs to get him to stick around because,
but there's so many quarterbacks. We're going to get into that in a second. There's so many quarterbacks coming out, in my opinion, that we might even see Bryce Young get the Josh Rosen treatment because there's so many coming out.
But this is the thing: the Panthers don't have a first rounder this year.
Oh, that's right.
They traded that away to move up last season to get Young. So
maybe they trade back into the. We've seen Denver did it. Yeah, I didn't think they could get a first rounder for Chubb.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of things you could trade in Carolina right now. There's hardly any talent on that team. It's if we're talking like talent deficient teams right now, the Patriots and Panthers are 1A and 1B. Like they are both that bad, and there's like, typically you rip this thing down to the studs, send down as many contracts as you can and get picks back. But like when you don't have anybody that any other team really wants, what can you do? And this is where the front offices have to be smart, and where I've said it a million times, everybody, what can we not do? We cannot miss on picks in rounds 1 to 3. Those are how you build franchises. 4 to 7 is how you backfill everything, right? And maybe you get lucky and you hit on a pick late in the draft, and that's great. That is fucking phenomenal. But that is the exception, not the rule. The rule is 1 to 3, period. You have to hit on those guys. And Belichick hasn't managed to do that in fucking a decade.
Oof.
And, and the thing is, it's the days of the Patriot way and plug and play and, getting cutesy and having like Mike Vrabel line up as a tight end and Troy Brown playing defensive back. You can't get away with that shit anymore.
No.
You can't do it. The game is different. And, the fact of the matter is the Pats and the Panthers both have swung and missed a lot more than they've hit on their draft picks in the last 5 or 6 years. And it shows in the, in the makeup of these rosters. Oh, Claw, Pats need more than that. They need wide receivers. They need offensive linemen. You need another running back to spell Ramondre. You need a fucking quarterback, first of all. You know what I mean?
Again, there's just so many coming out. And I think the first, there's at least, what, you say 10 quarterbacks coming out that are first rounders?
I wouldn't go 10.
Wait, DJ's not coming out, right?
Right now, DJ's in the transfer portal.
Which I thought was weird. Why?
I mean, Smith left. He took the Michigan State job. So
go to the league, kid. You're like 30.
Well, I mean, we're going to see this more and more, I believe, because of NIL. And you said that when we first started doing the show, when in NIL, you straight up said you're going to see kids stay in school longer because they can make a few million playing in college, dominating, and they're guarded against, injury and things like that could happen going into the pros.
And super seniors are common. You have, I think every Heisman candidate except for Marvin Harrison Jr. is a super senior, right?
Yes, I believe so. And the thing is, it's like, you've got, with the new transfer rules, you get one free transfer. And then you can, again, transfer as a grad student. So that's why you're probably going to see guys, literally hitting two, maybe three schools. They're going to go to the programs that offer them the best chance to put together tape to get to the NFL. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good quarterbacks coming out. But if you're talking like guys that you can plug in now and it can change kind of the face of your team, and I'm not talking kind of like what CJ's done in Houston, where I don't think anybody saw.
I didn't think he was going to be that good in the NFL.
I didn't think he was
going to be that good in the NFL.
I didn't think he was going to have the rookie season he's having. Like, I watched CJ for 2 years. That guy can put a ball anywhere he wants.
But still, the windows he was throwing to at Ohio State were so massive, and the talent he was playing against wasn't there. This kid walks into the NFL like it's any other day.
Yeah,
he's built different.
Well, dude, this is why a lot of Ohio State fans hate him, because when they asked him about Ohio State, Michigan, he was just like, I don't play for that. He's like, I got a game tomorrow.
Yeah.
He takes the game seriously, and he's not in college anymore, and he realizes that. And there's a lot riding on him continuing to grow as a player. And I think he's probably going to be at the same level of like, Burrow and, Mahomes in 4 or 5 years, but like, who saw Houston going from one of the worst franchises in the league to...
It's not like he's throwing to a team. He doesn't have Andre Johnson out there.
Dude, he's throwing to you and me. And
And that game against the Broncos, that was a close game. I watched. I missed the actual game. I had to watch the little play-by-play thing, and that was a good game.
Yeah,
he is the real deal, and it makes me sad because him and Bryce are such good friends, and you kind of wanted both those kids to succeed. They seem like just decent humans, but we talked about Bryce before, and I just don't think the NFL game is a game that he's cut out for. We'll see if he gets a new coach and talent around him. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is guys, I wasn't trying to be disrespectful about like Tank Dell and Nico Collins, but up until this season, like these guys, and it goes back to bad coaching. I will freely admit that, right? And Houston had a series of bad coaches, and they didn't develop the way that you playing in the NFL you'd expect a player to. So I mean, that's great to see that DeMeco Ryans and his staff have said, hey, we're going to lean into these young players. We're going to work through the rookie and young player mistakes, and we're just going to roll, right? We're just going to roll with them. And it's worked out great. I think D'Amico, it showed his coaching chops with the
Yeah.
Niners when he was running the defense there.
Wasn't he there when Alex Smith was young too?
I think he was still playing.
Yes, I'm saying wasn't he at the Niners when Alex Smith was young?
D'Amico spent most of his career in Houston.
Okay.
Yeah. But the guy knows how to coach and develop young players, and he's got a great rapport with all those young players. And I imagine that he's not that much older than them. He's younger than us. So I think that's great, especially when you're trying to build a young team. You want a coach that one is open to developing and kind of growing with, especially considered that he was, this is his first head coaching gig. But you also want to have that connection with a coach too. I'm going to say it again, dude. The Bill Belichick way doesn't work anymore. You can't be like that gruff dude that kind of is just a puppet master that doesn't have a lot of face time with his players. You have to be the guy that is D'Amico Ryans. Honestly, that's what you have to be now. Or a Mike Shanahan or a Kyle Shanahan, a Mike McDaniel.
Well, let me ask you this question about coaching real quick. Then I'm going to ask you about one more team. Actually, let me ask you about one more team, and then I have a coaching question for you.
Okay.
Are the Kansas City Chiefs for real, or are they a one and done team?
No. I'm gonna say it again. The offensive talent outside of Mahomes, Pacheco, and Travis Kelce is not good. It's not good, right? Kansas City's defense has looked better than it has in past years, but they have a horrible time getting warmed up. Green Bay drove down the field on 3 straight drives and put points up. And then you saw them kind of buckle down. You can't do that this late in the year, man, especially in games you have to win. But Steve, you're absolutely right. Kansas City doesn't need a wide receiver. They need multiple, right? I think we expected the drop off after moving Tyreek to Miami, right? We knew that was going to happen, but then they had a great year last year.
Yeah.
But you don't have that guy, right? That can kind of change the tempo of a game the way Hill obviously has done since day fucking one. You have to Kansas City needs to go out and get a wide receiver like that. Yeah, Rice is a nice receiver, Joey, but I mean, is he going to be a dude that comes up with the tough catches when they need him to, right? We don't know yet. But when you look at some of those other wideouts on Kansas City's rosters, dude, Tony is the king of the drop.
Sadly.
Yeah, the other wideouts that they have don't get separation very well from the corners. They're covered a lot. And you got to think the years that they had Tyreek Hill and even Sammy Watkins as a second option, it opened up the field for Travis Kelce.
Yep.
And Kelce is not seeing open lanes anymore, man.
No.
He's making tough catches because the guy's just like a black hole. You get the ball around him, he gets his mitts on it, and it's a reception, right? He doesn't drop a lot of balls. But they're not going for the big yardage anymore, man. He's a guy that's doing a 9-yard route, and the ball's there for him to catch, but the wideouts they're not a threat. So you can literally adjust the defense to where you can play a safety that go right along with Kelce, along with that linebacker. So he's not having those alleys to bust the big plays. And you can kind of see Mahomes frustrated as shit too. He just looks flustered. And a lot of that has to do with not a very good offensive line and the fact that he's getting the ball to receivers and the receivers just aren't coming up with catches.
I do have to ask you about this team, a team that everybody had picked as a Super Bowl contender, at least a playoff contender, the Buffalo Bills. Are they making it into the NFL playoffs?
Yeah, I think they're going to be a wild card. I think the East is kind of locked up unless they go on a heater, right? Unless they just peel off. You got to think they're 6-6 right now, so they have 5 more games. If they can rip off 5 straight wins, because what does Miami do? They blow out the teams they should and really struggle with teams that they're trying to compete with as far as like being in the top, right? So, and if Buffalo goes on a heater, they can make it close. But I see him getting as a wild card, and that's only if like Josh Allen like stops turning the ball over, right? That guy's got an interception at like 6-7 straight games. And he's pressing. That's all it is. Like I think he's just feeling pressure to maintain like the success that Buffalo's had over the last 4 or 5 years, right? But like that's a good team. There's a lot of talent on that roster. I don't know what the hell's going on, honestly. Like Allen is just so up and down. Like he'll put together a really good game, and then he'll have a game where he throws 2 picks, has a fumble, completes like 50.
But kind of back to those managers that come from financial backgrounds, or managers, team owners.
Yeah.
There was a time when your franchise player, i.e., your quarterback, could have down years. Your team could have down years. I've been a Denver Bronco fan since 1986. They didn't go to the Super Bowl every year. They didn't go to the playoffs every year. They had some sub 500 seasons in the Elway era.
Yeah.
Tommy, oh, what is his name? Tommy Maddox was drafted and was at 92 to be the heir apparent to Elway because of some down seasons that they had. And, Elway made sure that Maddox was selling insurance in a few seasons.
Hey, listen, Maddox won a title, an XFL title.
An XFL, he did. And he look, didn't he lead the Steelers to the playoffs?
Yes, he did. He had a couple, and he gave way to Slash. Cordell Stewart.
Yeah. But John Elway was the franchise. He was the face of the team. He was Mr. Colorado. And it's insane to think about, well, what if we go move Elway to the Raiders? They need quarterback help. Like no one was thinking that. That was never part of a conversation in sports media at all, which was very different before sports radio. But I say that because now your superstar player has a bad year. Well, let's just give someone a new shiny thing.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing.
So I understand why I say that, because I understand why these guys feel pressure that might not have been there. Even these movies that talk about football, it's like that's an antiquated football you're talking about with the old guy and then trying to hang off. No. If the new guy is a thing that sells jerseys, sorry, old guy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that's that big thing now, because maybe not so much in football, but when you look at basketball, baseball, and hockey with the regional sports networks, like Bally's, that just it's going to go bankrupt. Like the Cleveland Guardians right now are looking at cutting costs, even though they've had a pretty, they went to the World Series in 2016. They've won the Central more often than not until the last few years. They've had a couple down years, but because they were guaranteed $60 million by this TV deal that may not be there when the season starts. Right? So when you look at teams outside of big markets, so Boston, New York, Los Angeles, and the Bay Area, right? Those are the biggest TV markets. Teams rely on those deals, the sponsorship deals from like maybe their stadium, the regional sports networks, the money that they may get from NFL Network, right? Like they rely on that money in order to support team operations, right? When it's not there, what happens? Well, we got to cut costs. And it's not just cutting costs. That means you're going to send star players somewhere else, right? It also means increased ticket prices because, hey, man, we're sports fans in this country. We're going to go. I mean, it's not quite like EPL bad, English Premier League. Like, dude, their ticket prices have went up like almost 140% over the last decade.
But
Just
wouldn't it have more to do with like trying to get rid of the soccer hooligans and let's get the poor people out of the sport?
no, it was trying to get new stadiums built,
Okay.
right? It almost all of it was directly tied to that. And on top of that, you had a lot of billionaires start buying into EPL.
Mm.
Kroenke, the family that owns the Buccaneers,
Yeah. I think
and then yeah, and then you had the introduction of the Saudis and the Emiratis that were purchasing teams, for several billion, spent like just open checkbook during transfer periods. So they're like, yeah, we got to make some of this back. We're raising ticket prices. Because you know what English people are not going to do? Not go to the stadium on game days. They're going
But
to go.
wasn't that also a way to get rid of? I mean, maybe you got a two-pronged solution. We can make up some of these losses, but we could also clean up some of the violence in the stands.
Yeah, but I mean, even then, by the time of the formation of the Premier League, which you have to think it's one of the younger sports leagues, uh, because they didn't like the way that the English soccer pyramid was kind of set up. So the teams in the EPL
Mhm.
formed the league in spite of like what the English Soccer Federation wanted. Um, there's a great book. I read it in like 2 days about it, and I was just like, holy shit. Um, you know, but just the fact that they are literally the most financially dominant league on the planet, and a lot of it is tied to television, right? EPL's in every country, every
Mm.
fucking country. The NFL is trying to do that. Um, and they're kind of doing it in increments with the international series of games, which
Yeah.
will be expanding as well. They're going to hold more games in Mexico. They're going to do another couple in Germany, England, and they're also talking about maybe trying Spain or France. So
Last night, walking back to my car in downtown Rosarito. So I think I told you this. They do school in shifts out here. So
really,
there's like a day shift of kids. There's an afternoon shift of kids, and there's an evening shift. So there's kids that get out of school like 7 o'clock. It's weird.
yeah.
So you can be walking around at night in downtown, and there's just kids getting out of school, parents everywhere. But I saw kids, a group of young boys, walk around with a football.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. I don't know if
Yeah.
you saw, but one of the Miami Heat's big hits in the draft
Mhm.
is a dude who's a Mexican American that played at UCLA, right? Like his family were first gen.
Mhm.
So like soccer was traditionally like a very dominant sport in Mexico, and there's a reason for it. Like that was a huge means when the game developed of colonial and neo-colonial control. It really was. But now with things like the fucking internet, kids are being exposed to, American football. I mean, dude, there's been a huge explosion of American football leagues overseas. Italy has a league now. Ireland's had a league for about 5-6 years. Um, you know, and you know, well, I mean, while I think rugby and football are amazing sports. I don't think the NFL can compete internationally, but they don't have to. If you're the third most popular league in the world, you are still freaking
Massive. Yeah.
just rolling in dough. So I don't think that Goodell, I hope he's not so, like maniacal that he thinks he can overtake soccer, or rugby as the dominant international sport, but he'd be really okay with being number 3, So like it's, it, that's the plan, And the thing is, if you get American football leagues started in other countries, the NFL has already shown that they will put money into it. And while the NFL owners kind of killed NFL Europa,
Mhm.
because they were like, well, we're losing money. Well, they see the international growth now where they didn't 15 years ago, So it's going to be interesting.
If the Chargers would have stayed and just built a stadium in TJ.
Oh man, the Tijuana Chargers.
Look, the Niners play an hour and a half from San Francisco.
I know, which I think is nuts, and that's like if there's no traffic that day, you know.
So, you could call yourself the San Diego Chargers if you can call yourself the Golden State Chargers if you want to.
Yeah.
And just build a stadium in TJ.
Yeah,
Dude, every sold out.
Yeah. I mean, and
I'm letting you know it's sold out.
the sad thing is I don't think the Spanos family wanted to be responsible for building a stadium. That's what I think it was.
There's a stadium there already.
It's antiquated though, Jason.
Did you look? I haven't been to too many new stadiums. As the last tour I did in big arenas, I think the newest stadium that was out was the Cowboys.
Oh, dude, and that's the Taj Mahal. That's the standard.
Oh
That
no! The last new stadium I went to was the Niners. I saw
okay.
I did the college championship there. But look, man, you can play it. You're fine. You're the Chargers. You're fine. You're not winning shit.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing though. Like we actually talked about like how horrible like the stadium industrial complex is when it comes to, you know,
dude. When it comes to like just leaving, dude, how many? I don't even want to get into that. I don't want to derail it because we get yelled at in the comments. Like they didn't start talking about the topic until like an hour in.
Yeah.
Goddamn right. And that's where we're gonna do things.
Yeah.
On this show. If you don't like it, sorry, I'm gonna tell you.
Yeah. I mean, but Steve, you're right. The Spanos family aren't what you would call uber wealthy, and they saw a means of getting into a larger market in a brand new stadium without having to pay for any of it, right? Kroenke was like, I'm building SoFi. It's mine.
Mm-hmm.
I want the same deal Jerry Jones has. And he did. He's got it, right? And the thing is, it's going to be interesting because eventually the Spanos family is going to have nothing to do with the Chargers. Like the children already came out and said, we're really not in the mood to deal with this shit. We just want to like be rich white people, right? And the fact of the matter is they'll be able to sell it. Somebody said, you know, in the chat that, you know, wait 5-10 years, they'll get an extra billion for it. Absolutely. Absolutely. But at what point do they get bought out by the next, you know, we'll say the NFL equivalent of Steve Ballmer, right? Who buddied up at the forum and at whatever they're calling Staples Center now, crypto.com arena. You know,
still crypto?
Yeah, I think it is still
Oh,
crypto.
okay.
I could be wrong though. I just think it's hilarious that crypto managed to like right
The stadium.
But like what did Ballmer do? Like after a while, he's like, you know what? Fuck this. I want my team to have their own space because my team's locker room is covered in purple and gold. Right? Like, you know, he's like, I don't want to deal with this shit anymore. Right. So what did he do? He went out and bought some land, worked with the LA City Council and all the bullshit that goes along with building a stadium and plopped down his own, wallet and said, I'm building my own shit. The Spanos family is going to sell out to a guy like Ballmer because it's the only people that can afford to buy teams now, or bajillion, like I wouldn't put it past Elon Musk just saying, you know what? I cratered Twitter. Tesla stock's not looking great because I tied so much of my Twitter debt to my Tesla stock. How can I, and like people don't like me anymore because I'm saying dumb shit on TV. How can I fix this? And he tries to fucking futurist AI an NFL team, right? Like these ownership groups are very like good old boy, but they have been just infiltrated more and more by younger folks. Steve, the Commanders already sold. Bezos pulled out. It's another tech dude that bought it. Bought the Commanders, but it's only a matter of time before we get a super tech bro, or even Bezos throws his hat in the ring and is like, well, I couldn't get the Commanders.
Elon Musk loves being in the center of controversy. So the quote unquote dumb shit that he says just makes him the center of controversy.
Yeah. I mean, it shocks me that a man who bought a platform that's entirely dependent on ad sales is chasing off the biggest companies that he needs to advertise on his platform.
Don't be.
Don't be.
Why? He's Suge Knight.
That's fair.
Don't be. What was the first thing Harry O told Suge Knight? Don't be the face of the record label. Hide in the background. What's the first thing Suge Knight does? Walks around with a big cigar, shakes Vanilla Ice down for a bunch of money.
Dangles him over a balcony.
Yells at the Source Awards about leaving Puffy to come to death row. Come on, man. He's a different kind of Suge Knight. He's the new Suge Knight.
Yeah,
the old Suge Knight doesn't exist anymore because you just can't be a tough guy and beat shit out of people and then that guy's gone. Elon Musk is the new Suge Knight.
What are you talking about? Elon and Mark Zuckerberg are going to have a cage match, Jason.
And who are they dangling over? Who are they dangling out the window?
You know who's going to get dangled out the window? Linda Yaccarino. That's who's going to get dangled out the fucking window. That poor woman already probably hates her life.
Well, look, I want to get to the main topic on the show today, which is the last year of the college football playoff series. Now, I remember
the 14 playoffs.
14 playoffs. Sorry. I remember the BCS days.
Oh yeah.
And I remember all of the hate for the BCS days, but it was 1 versus 2. That's what everybody wanted to see. 1 versus 2. We want to have a non-contested national champion. 1 versus 2. That wasn't enough for people.
I'm glad that you brought this up.
Oh,
because what still gets produced after our playoff?
Bowls.
The AP and coaches polls.
Oh, okay.
So we technically, the opportunity for a split national championship is still there. Because if enough coaches or AP writers decide that Florida State wins their bowl game, they're undefeated, they could actually vote them as the AP or coaches poll national champ.
Didn't that happen to Central Florida a few years back?
Well, no, Central Florida claimed they were national champs. They did not end up number 1 in either of the polls, but they claimed one, right? And the thing is, everybody should not laugh at UCF for doing that, because, when Bama and Ohio State say, we have like 12 national titles. Well, before 1939, I believe, there wasn't like the poll system that we have now.
Yeah.
So you had a lot of people claiming national titles, right? Like they just did because they were undefeated at the end of the season, So, like the thing is I hate that college football, especially the highest echelons of college football, did not institute a playoff system at the very advent of the game. This is the only sport on the fucking planet that doesn't have a real playoff. Right?
Well, they have the bowl system,
which is trash. Okay, it's junk.
But would you say this? And I'd love to get your guys' opinion on this. It feels like to me, as a person, again, who's watched the game for a long time and seen it change, and I'm not saying that my version of watching the game is better than anyone's version now. It's just I have a different my memory of this game is a little different before the BCS, before the idea of the one and only national champion. Like you say, Mac, there was multiple coaches polls. And even beyond that, there was this thing called Bowl Week on ESPN that started like maybe the week of Christmas. So for me, this huge college football fan, once there was a bowl week, once there was enough games that could constitute a week before the first, someone says, "Shut up, Boomer Steve. I will find you in San Diego. I will shake the shit out of you. I will shake the living shit. I don't care if you're 6'8" with a bad attitude." But
it's gonna be you and Linda Yaccarino just over the sides of that balcony, Steve.
But if you like, for me, those games, like I remember watching Aaron Rodgers in the Holiday Bowl and Cal looking like children against, I think it was Virginia Tech they beat.
Yeah, I mean,
the Holiday Bowl for me was kind of like, dude, watching Ty Detmer throw for like 500 yards in a Holiday Bowl.
You know, you got to think the Holiday Bowl now isn't even a second tier bowl, but at one point
No.
you had national championship teams playing there. Like that was the bowl game that
Yeah.
BYU won when they won the title in
Right.
what was it, 83, 84.
And that
But
wasn't a New Year's Day bowl.
no, it wasn't. But like this is the thing. There's 84 teams playing in a bowl game, dude, and there's 133 FBS teams.
Mhm.
Like so more than half. Like somebody do the math there. Um, you know, are getting to play in a bowl game. You
But
know,
the bowl games to me, again, as a kid, with no gambling stakes, right? There's no fantasy stakes. There's no, I care a little bit about the draft with my little scouting sheet, right? Those games for me, I loved them. Of the family I lived with, they loved college football. Like we got into college football around the same time. Well, I mean, as a family, right? Us all watching it together. And I remember going, there's this kid out of Nevada. You got to watch this kid out of Nevada. This quarterback is number 10. This tall kid. You guys know him as the guy that kneels now.
yeah.
But he was this tall. He was like breaking records at Nevada. That family went to go watch him play in a bowl game at not Candlestick Park, but wherever the Giants play now, Pac Bell.
Yeah.
For like maybe 10,000 people showed up. But they were like, we got to see this Kaepernick kid play because we really like this Kaepernick kid. He's so fun to watch.
I mean,
Bowl
Jason,
games were fun.
I piss and moan about the bowl system just because there's so many of them now.
Wait,
But
and before you say this, I want to say that I want to end with this. Before
Okay.
I hate to cut you off. I promise I'll mute myself. That's how much I'm sorry for cutting you off.
No worries, brother. No worries, man.
When I heard on sports radio multiple people say, "Who gives a hell about any of the bowl games? It's all trash. It's all about who's number one." I'm like, oh, that's what it was about. They were just fun games to watch.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I watch every bowl game because I just genuinely love football. I love the sport, and I watch it. I'll watch the combined XFL, USFL coming up. I'm going to watch Canadian football this summer. I will watch football, right? And it is fun. Like I got to go see Coastal Carolina 2 years ago when they started the Myrtle Beach Bowl, and
Mm.
that was a lot of fun seeing it played on like the teal turf, and it's a very
Mhm.
cozy stadium. It was super rad, and I think I only paid like $15 for a ticket, right? And I like on a whim, I went on Twitter and DM'd the athletic department. I'm like, hey, I'm a freelance sports writer. Can I get credentials? And they're like, bro, we don't even have credentials, but you can get like a cheap ticket, come down and we'll put you on the sideline. And I was like, fucking bet, like it was kind of like fly by the seat of their pants because a lot of these small bowls, that's what they have to do. Like I want everybody to go out and read the Sports Illustrated article about what happened to the ACC's bowl choices because it's like a big deal. Typically only takes an hour. Took 9 hours because FSU didn't make the playoff. Like literally Notre Dame had their name pulled out of a hat to go to their bowl. Okay, like that's how kind of hectic it was. And they are fun because you get to, like, in what other world is like Northern Illinois is going to a bowl game this year?
Mhm.
Steady program out of the MAC, but Toledo's kind of like owned it. The last few years they didn't win the conference playoff championship this year. Miami of Ohio did. But like Northern Illinois doesn't go to a lot of bowls, But so I mean it's great, but like because I just hate being happy, I look at the economic impact of these games
Yeah.
on the cities, right? And most of these bowl games are losers, like as
Yeah.
far as a financial thing, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of the bowl games out west try and skirt union venues where unions are present.
There's a reason why you play a bowl game, January or end of December in El Paso.
Yeah. So it's kind of like I could just shut up and enjoy the football, but like I said, I can't be happy. I have to constantly think about the shit that I love, or the things that are very important to me. But yeah, man, it's just we shouldn't have 41 bowl games, dude. We should not have
Mhm.
41 bowl games. If we have 133 teams and 84 of them are going to bowl games, like that is fucking sad, dude. Like James Madison, because they moved up from FCS to FBS, they won 24 games the 2 seasons they've been at FBS.
Yeah. Yeah.
They were not eligible to go to a bowl game, but because they did not have enough teams that had 6 wins, they got a bowl invite this year.
And they're playing a big bowl game.
No, here, I'll tell you which ones they're playing. Let's see.
And there was bowls. Look, we have to also admit that there was New Year's Day, there was New Year's Eve, and that was it.
Yeah. So we have. Oh, come on. Now you're going to do this to me?
JC says, I'm going to start the TIR Bowl and invite Washington State and Oregon State every year until they find homes.
James Madison is playing Air Force in the Armed Forces Bowl on December 23rd. But I mean, that's the thing, Jason, if we got enough, like if we found a rich dude that just wanted to like have a vanity project one year, we can get the This Is Revolution Bowl, because fucking Portnoy did it with Barstool for 2 seasons. And like it literally was 2 pages of paperwork that he submitted to the NCAA, worked with ESPN, and rebranded an ESPN owned game because they owned 17 of the bowl games. Right? And just slapped Barstool on it.
Joey says, I personally could do without the Reynolds Wrap aluminum foil bowl. There's tons of bowls. I get it. But again, I can't watch bowl games the way I watched bowl games back then, because there was also the senior bowls, like the East-West Shrine game, the Hula Bowl. I used to love those games.
And the thing is, they changed the rules now. So if you are a junior, you can play officially in the Senior Bowl. So it's essentially for people that are just trying to go into the NFL. Maybe they played at smaller schools, or, D2 FCS. This will give them an opportunity on a national stage to practice against, the big boys and all that. So, I mean, I think that's good.
I don't mind that. I don't mind that at all. Let coaches see you and deal with you in a practice situation. Oh, I don't mind that at all.
Yeah, I think it's smart. Honestly, it should have been done years ago. But
and you can stay quiet about this 3rd round, running back that you could probably steal in the 5th that you think might have 1st round talent, but he went to James Madison, or he had a down year, or maybe he just went to New Mexico State,
which strangely enough won 10 games this year. And the conference and came up just short in the Conference USA title game. Like, that's nuts. New Mexico State. Like, fuck. I mean, and the thing is, we're going to see a lot of changes because, like, I don't know if you know, but like the new NCAA president, he's only been in the job a month, and wrote up like a proposal saying that, and I quote, a new subdivision consisting of the schools with the highest resources that would separate itself from the rest of the FBS, as well as Division I, and have its own rules and own regulations.
Awesome.
The FBS would then still have access to the college football playoff, right? So this new division would crown its own champ. Okay. Now, the new subdivision would give schools the ability to arrange NIL deals for athletes with no cap on compensation. That signals an unrestricted, direct pay-for-play model that is a nod toward current lawsuits that seek to remove regulations around compensation. Now, this is the floor that you have to ascribe to be one of those top, schools.
This is very important.
You have to offer every athlete $30,000. Every athlete. Okay, that's women's swimmers. That is your crew. Nerds. Okay.
The gymnastics team.
Yep. That is everybody. Okay.
Men's volleyball that no one watches.
Yep. So I think that's great. I think it's about time we finally realized that the way the sport is set up now isn't going to work. It's just not. We've seen realignment essentially destroy the Pac-12, which, believe it or not, guys, for the next 2 years will operate as a 2-team league because they have a 2-year grace period before they have to either do one of two things: completely disband the Pac-12 and find other homes, which would probably be the Mountain West, or they absorb the Mountain West and just restock the Pac-12 with the Mountain West teams. The Pac-12, Oregon State and Washington State have both signed a deal with the Mountain West, where both Oregon State and Wazoo will play 6 games against the Mountain West. So that fleshes out, more than half their schedule, to where all they'll have to really do now is set up essentially their non-conference schedule, those first 3 games. So, if we would have had something like this a few years ago, we probably would have already had this kind of like separation or break with the top 40 teams. And these are the absolute blue bloods, right? Like the USCs, UCLAs, Ohio States, the SEC teams, minus maybe Vanderbilt, because I don't think you'd see Vandy like go in there and do that. I don't think that they're that dedicated to athletics the way a private school like, say, Duke is.
Stanford.
Yeah. I mean, well, again, in Stanford, the biggest gripe about Stanford was that literally all the Olympic sports come out of the West Coast and Stanford University.
Stanford, yeah.
Right. So they, everybody's like, well, the U.S., people don't realize the U.S. Olympic umbrella organization isn't very well funded. So they lean on Stanford to find all those Olympic sports athletes,
And who's their big donor? Isn't it the Nike guy? Didn't he do grad school there?
The Nike guy, Phil Knight, he's Oregon only.
Oregon, but didn't he do grad school at Stanford?
Yeah, I believe so. But I mean, Stanford has they have one.
I mean, they have no problem with donors.
Yeah, like they're fine. Like they've got all that Silicon Valley. Yeah, they got that Silicon Valley money,
politician money. They're good.
Yeah,
oil
but
baron money. Yeah.
It's just going to be, if this takes place, which I think Baker wants it to happen, because you got to understand, Baker was like a general or some shit. Like he's not Myles Brand, who was a fucking spineless jellyfish that just was like, well, I guess we can do something. This is the NCAA. We are nonprofit, but we did have over $2 billion in generated revenue last year, right? Like I think Baker really wants to set up, like knowing full well that if we keep going through the changes in the game that we're going to happen, whether fans want them to or not, that this is going to be better for the game overall. That way you don't have conferences like the MAC that are constantly getting left behind, or Conference USA. They can still have their own championships. They can still like have better access to bowl games and shit like that, right? But with these top guys, they don't need those bowls. They just need a playoff. And if you have the top 40 teams, like those top earning teams, split them up into, fuck, dude. I would even dare say 8 conferences, regionally aligned, and then you just have, okay, the Midwest, however you want to bust them up. We can go Northeast, South, or West and have, like AFC, NFC type shit. And you win your division, you go to the playoff. It'd be a real fucking playoff finally.
But do you see it this way? And this is the way I see it. We can't, much like us remembering these fun bowl games that we just watch to watch.
Yeah, I'm the 96 whogivesashit.com bowl.
Right? You're just like, dude, did you watch that game the other night where dude threw for 500 yards? That's done. You know why? Because the pundits, who, we have to be honest about this, kind of control the way we digest and dissect what we see.
Absolutely.
And we said it on this show, gambling is changing the way that we see the game. The NIL is changing the way we see the game, and it's allowing a certain kind of financialization of the way we talk about people and players, especially with fantasy sports as well, where we're putting intrinsic values on everything. So all this is a zero-sum game. Gambling is zero-sum, right? And so, since we're viewing everything through a gambler's lens, most of the shows that we think we're watching on our 24-hour sports news cycle is just paid for gambling programming disguised as a show, which if we had enough money, Mac, you and I could do that on ESPN radio. We could pay. I would love to know how much it costs to do that and act like you have a radio show, and then it's just an ad for your gambling site.
Yeah.
But what I'm afraid of is that nothing matters except for who's number one. And that's all the talk around college sports is about, the worthlessness of bowl games and the idea of participation trophies. And this is a generation of weaklings that get participation trophies just for trying. And I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, I got a participation trophy.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing.
You have some as well, right?
The fucking, yeah, absolutely. I was in the Army. I had a lot of them. But the fact of the matter is, I agree with you 100%. But what led to the proliferation to the point where we're at 41 bowl games? The fucking same people, the same generation of people that are bitching about it now, because they saw an easy way to like put their name on something that was going to be on ESPN and in front of, however many million people are going to watch it on TV at fucking, 3:30 in the afternoon on the 16th of December, which is a Wednesday.
On a Tuesday. Yeah.
So like, those same people that saw economic opportunity are bitching about it now. And it's like, dude, I hate to tell you this, the entire bowl system is one of participation trophies, because you had the top teams, and granted, we going back into like the College Football Alliance, which led to the the computerized bullshit that we dealt with. The BCS. You knew who the top 2 or 3 teams that were going to be in it, like potentially getting, that the 3 teams that were going to get those number 1 votes that were going to be potentially national champs. So every other bowl game is just an opportunity to win a trophy, and people might not like to hear that, but who gives a shit? It's true, and especially now when there's 41 of them, like a lot of them are participation trophies. And like I said, for small programs, that's great. And there's no reason to do away with it. Maybe cut some away.
We can cut some. We can trim the fat.
You know what I mean? But if you have those top 40 league, or 40 leave and form their own subdivision, you can still have 20 bowl games and the CFP with whoever is left in FBS. You can still do that. And the fact of the matter is, people will still watch it. People watch the D3 playoff on ESPN. They watch the D2 playoff on ESPN. They watch the FCS playoffs. People watch, so like, let's not act like people aren't going to still be invested in it. The TV model is going to be different. Absolutely. Right. But, we've been watching a kind of very different TV model happen with, cord cutting and people moving to streaming, and watching ESPN and Fox and all the companies that are paying billions to air these sports fumble horribly with their apps and their streaming services. Like, they're ass. They're horrible. Like ESPN has probably fucked it up the most. You're the worldwide leader and your app sucks. Like, how can you justify that? But, change is part of the game now. And it is because of the financialization of it. But the fact of the matter is, and I've said it before, and I will say it again, that happened in 1984. This is nothing new. When the Board of Regents of the University of Oklahoma won a Supreme Court case against the NCAA that allowed schools to sign their own TV deals, the sport's financialized at that point. There's no amateurism. It was only amateurism forced on players, but for the school, the athletic department, everything else, they're raking in cash.
But do you think this is what we were reading and talking about last week, with this idea that sooner than later, everybody goes public with sports and it's no longer a nonprofit venture? Well,
I mean, I think, honestly, I wish they would just lean into it. Like, at least Arizona, the University of Arizona is taking a proactive look at how expensive running an athletic department is and trying to find, I mean, I hate to say it, a capitalistic means in which to continue pumping funds into something that is largely a dollar loss leader for a university, right?
Mhm.
So why not, again, have, like somebody said, that we can have the, University of Arizona Wildcats brought to you by Meineke. Get your muffler replaced and your brakes checked at Meineke stores all throughout 50 states, right? Like
Yeah.
it's bound to happen. We've already seen it with professional sports, right? We're seeing ads on jerseys now. Honestly, I would not be surprised to see, I'm not even kidding, baseball go full kind of like European soccer with just having a big sponsor on the front, or maybe in a much more pronounced place than just the shoulder to go along with the city.
Well, let
You
me
know,
ask you this then. What and I'm asking, what does that then mean for the sport and for us as consumers of said sport?
well, honestly, I think this is just going to be a continuation for all our other sports anyway, right? Like, we don't have the forum anymore. We have the crypto.com arena, right? We have the American Airlines arena, SoFi, right? Um, we have corporate sponsors for everything, right? What is Little Caesars now? The official pizza of the NFL.
Is it really?
Yes, yes.
No way.
Papa John's lost it.
Wait,
Uh,
time out before you go on to say something profound. Little Caesars
mhm,
pizza?
mhm. Is now the official pizza of the NFL. The NFL has an official beer. UFC once a Bud Light, stalwart went with Modelo, they're back with Bud Light again, right?
Mhm.
So this is something we've dealt with for a long time, right? The days of us having stadiums named the Forum and Riverfront and Three Rivers, done. Those are done. Okay. Like they're not coming back. That will never happen again. Like the Browns went back to Cleveland Browns Stadium because their prior uh, corporate sponsor, First Energy, was just caught up in a massive bribery scandal with the former Speaker of the General Assembly in Ohio. So Haslam did something pretty smart and was like, well, we're just going to take your name off the stadium. And, I give it a year. I give it a year. After this season, they'll have another corporate sponsor back up there because it's just another revenue stream for the team. And when you look at, right, when you look at shit like that, and yeah, Joey, you're absolutely right. It's tacky and the bar just gets lower and lower every season.
Mhm.
I understand that, right? But that's the reality that we live in now. It is stupidly expensive to run an organization, a
Mhm.
sports organization. It's horrible. Now look at colleges though. They have a department that oversees anywhere from like 2 to 3 dozen sports.
Mhm.
That is not easy. And a lot of
Mhm.
these schools are trying to run it on a shoestring budget because they need the money to go into facilities, uniforms, all that shit, right? And that
Mhm.
is not cheap.
Mm-mm.
So,
Travel.
oh, especially now with the coast to coast Atlantic Coast Conference, right?
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
so like those numbers add up. And at a certain point, when is an athletic department going to be like, bro, like, I, we don't know where the money's coming from, especially when I guarantee you, remember, Jason, Arizona took a loan out
Mhm.
during the COVID year from the school. Like the athletic department took a $50 million loan out from the school just to balance the budget, right? I guarantee you they're not the only school that did that. Guarantee you they're not the only school that did that. And the fact that they went public with it, I think, is very telling. Because the move to the Big 12 was supposed to be this big influx of cash, but 36 mil a year, that's great from a TV deal. If like even, if you're breaking even,
Mhm.
but Arizona was running a $50 million deficit and did so for almost a decade. That's a lot of
Mm.
money to literally just set
Mhm.
on fire, like, and so we can look at it two ways. We can we can say this is gross, this is tacky, this flies in the face of all the tradition of college football, right? Which I hate to tell you, the system's broken. And the fact that Baker is proposing something like this, I think, is a way for him to try and fix it. So if we want to keep rolling the way we're rolling, we're going to lose. Like, we're just talking FBS here, right? You're going to have multiple schools make the decision Idaho made 3 years ago, and that's to drop it back down to FCS, right? Because teams or schools cannot afford to float dozens of teams and not have guaranteed revenue streams, and that's the thing. Some of these bowls pay out $500,000, right, to both teams. For Eastern Michigan, that might be great, big chunk. For Jacksonville State, right, they just moved up to FBS. They got a bowl game as well. That'll be great. What does $500K do for UA right now? Not a goddamn thing.
Nothing.
When you're 50 mil in the hole, doesn't do anything.
Maybe you recoup the cost of the flights.
Yeah, maybe. But when you get back to Arizona, you're probably still going to be on the hook for catering and shit. You know what I mean? Like all the things that go along with it.
Yeah.
So like we can do one of two things. We can bitch about this and poo-poo it, or just lean into it because it's going to happen anyway. Is it gross? Absolutely. Does it completely demonstrate the excesses of a capitalist system? Absolutely. But that's where we're at right now. And unless, like, honestly, you guys already know where I stand. I think the athletic department should be separated from the universities in general, and they should be run like a minor league. You
mean the main sports?
Yeah. Football, basketball, maybe even baseball, and hockey in certain schools. Absolutely. They should be separated and ran like a minor league. It would take a lot of the stress off the school. It would take a ton of the stress off the athletic department, and we wouldn't have to worry about having, the, SEC Saturday game here in Tuscaloosa at the University of Alabama, brought to you by crypto.com. For all your crypto needs, head over to crypto.com,
But let me ask you this. How do we then, because I don't think it stops at sports.
Well,
I really don't.
If we're like thinking the same here when we're talking about the actual academics of it, we've already fumbled that. That's already been fumbled. We have so many for-profit universities, so many of them. And which are the ones you see most? Southern New Hampshire University, that's for-profit, right? University of Phoenix was the biggest one.
The biggest one.
For-profit, right? Grand Canyon. I don't think it's Grand Canyon University. It was like Grand Canyon State College or some shit like that. For-profit, right? So we have all these for-profit schools already that are just Liberty. If you don't think that is a for-profit institution, I've got another thing coming to you, everybody. Like, that thing generates money. And the Falwells love it. They may not be the face of the school anymore because, Jerry Jr. likes to diddle his pool boy, but allegedly, see, dodged a bullet there. But they still started a school. They still have it. Like Virtuoso, I'm with you. I would love to see promotion and relegation. I would love to see that. I think that's a perfect system. It really gives you incentive to invest in a sport. Like we should have that with the FBS right now. It should be busted into 4 chunks, and that system instituted. But we won't see that because why? Honestly, why we don't have promotion and relegation here? Because we're American, and that is a very un-American idea, right? And on top of that, the sport that is most widely known for promotion and relegation in the United States doesn't have it because the very top of that pyramid refuses to institute it. But USL and the other soccer leagues at the various levels of US soccer have said we are all for it. But MLS will never happen because what are they doing now? Bringing in billion-dollar owners. So,
well, real quick before we go, I know it's late where you are. in the great state of North Carolina.
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
It's a great state. There's a all night cookout. You can 3 o'clock in the morning. You can get a cherry strawberry vanilla milkshake.
Absolutely. That you have to eat with a spoon, and then you get the most overcooked burgers because the line
I was about to say,
yeah.
oh my God, I was totally about to say overcooked.
Mhm.
Yes, overcooked as hell.
You get your smash burger that comes out looking like a fucking frisbee made out of, like rubber. It's horrible.
For people from the Bay Area, it's the closest thing I can get to a Quick Ways. There was a place in the Bay called Quick Ways, and this was, oh God, I was a small kid, and my mom worked in Oakland, and we lived in Richmond, and she would bring back this greasy bag. It was like a bag of grease.
Yeah.
With a burger and fries in it, and you can get a whole apple pie for like a couple bucks.
Yep.
That was like legitimate. The place was called Quick Ways, and when I went to Cookout the first time, we played. What's the big city there?
Charlotte.
Yeah, the first time we played Charlotte.
Yeah.
Took us to Cookout.
Charlotte.
I felt very at home.
Yeah, Charlotte is a weird spot. It's only gotten weirder because they didn't expect the second largest banking area of the country to like blow up in Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very hard to actually meet someone from Charlotte now. But it's grown out in such a way to where it's kind of like gobbled up all like the smaller towns around it. But like, this isn't a place that had like a smart like grid plan for roads or anything, right? So there's a million different highways. It's so easy. You get off on the wrong exit, you're fucked, dude. Like you are just fucked. You're driving around that city a whole other time.
We played the other places. What city do you live in? Fayetteville.
I live in Fayetteville, yeah.
We played Fayetteville a hell of a lot more than we played Charlotte.
Oh yeah, you probably played at the Rock Shop.
I don't remember. We played at some gnarly little places. There was this woman that owned a cool little venue. It got shut down by ASCAP. I won't get into that, but yeah, recently I was, doing all these interviews for the book, and they were introducing me as a musician. And so nobody in the band is doing. One guy from the band is actually on tour right now with another much larger band, and but we still talk, right? And doing all this press, the band kind of blew up on Spotify. I got this alert. It's like, oh, your listenership went up 22,000%.
Yeah.
What the hell is this? So I started having all these memories about, the good old days of touring, as I have these pictures behind me, and I posted on the band page, and the first time in a long time. And I just randomly asked, like, does anyone have any memories of this band? And I've been shocked to get these responses back from people going, I remember playing with you in Scotland, and I remember you played at my house.
Yeah, man. The Rock. If you came down here, you probably played at Rock Shop, Drunk Horse Pub.
Drunk Horse Pub. I know we played the Drunk Horse Pub because I swear, was the only other black dude in the scene stole my show clothes.
That sounds about right. And you probably played at Jester's. Jester's got shut down big time. DHP, it got so bad, and I'm not even kidding you. Smile Empty Soul came to play DHP. The New Year's before like lockdowns hit, there were 32 people there. 32. I was one of them. Right. COVID essentially crushed DHP. And Rock Shop was a huge blow to the local scene here because Shane kept that place open through just like grit. And it was a great place to play music. I bounced there my last year in the Army, and then when I got out, and I'm not even kidding, someone broke in, like rammed a car through the side of the building and stole all the sound equipment.
Jesus.
So Shane tried to do like a little fundraiser, or the goal was like 25 grand, and we got like 18. And he's just like, dude, I can't keep this shit. I can't keep it open without the equipment, man. So he had to shut it down. But what's pretty rad is he owns the record store here in town, and it's fucking so awesome. And yeah, I sold out. I got a record player for my birthday. And I've got 4 records right now.
Dude, there's certain aspects of playing live, like having people respond in that post. And it was from a band before Bitter Lake, one I did with the longest with my ex. Most of the posters you see behind me are Le Fin Absolute du Monde. And Cindy and I went around the country and the world too many damn times to count. Like I don't remember. And to see people say like, "Oh, dude, I remember you played here," and "Oh, we played the show with you here," and "We played hella shows with you in New Mexico," and I'm like, "Damn, I did do all this." Like,
Yeah.
I guess I am a musician. Oh, I forgot about that.
Well, I mean, that's the great thing. Like you didn't. I mean, I wouldn't say you're not doing music. You're just focusing your energies into TIR and everything. And
I don't have to cry if nobody buys anything, right? If I don't sell any, like, oh, we got to sell some CDs tonight, and I will never forget. We were looking at the money we had, and we were like, we don't have enough to drive home, and we were in Louisville, Kentucky.
Oh God!
And I just remember we're sitting in the van, and then it just started snowing, and we're like, what are the odds that the show actually does well and we can make enough money to go home, and then we'll just go home and get regular jobs and stop this stupid dream? And of course that didn't happen. We played the show. It went well beyond anything we ever could have imagined, and instead of going home, we finished the tour and worked crap jobs.
Yeah, I mean, I too went on tour. Mostly of Afghanistan.
In support of imperialism.
Yeah, in support of imperialism. It was that was actually the name of the band. In support of imperialism.
Laugh.
Dude, I know, but like, see, the thing is, if I don't laugh about it, it eats me up, man. Because like, I've talked to you about it, but like, I served as long as I did because not through for patriotism or anything. Like, I felt I owed it to the kids, that were joining, to provide some sort of leadership and some sort of overhead cover because our commanders were just fucking idiots. But like, that's the only reason I stayed in. And then the longer I stayed in, the more jaded and like really the more into my politics I got. Right. And so like when I get out, like I start, attending, like I'm not gonna lie, I went to DSA meetings, and it was either very welcoming on one day, and then the other day they're like, well, you were a tool of imperialism. Get the fuck out. Like, I'm just like, oh, okay.
And you were like, all those January 6th guys know how to fight.
Yeah. But it's just like, I have to laugh about it, because then if I don't, it just becomes like kind of like a downer. And, after like a suicide attempt and everything, and actually going to therapy and learning to deal with everything, my therapist was like, dude, you have to laugh. If you don't, it's going to eat you up and you're going to try and shoot yourself again. I was like, well, that makes sense,
Well,
and
Mac, look, Mac, first and foremost, and everybody watching the show, you can't do anything negative to yourself, because I'm trying to take at least a week off of the show. So I'm going to need you to fill in.
Okay.
And I'm glad you're laughing, because I get to ask you on air if you can fill in for me.
Yeah. I mean, dude, I told you, it like my schedule, like we'll talk about what day you need and whatever. But yeah, dude, like, I'm here. I am, like, the thing is, Marcus, man, he's like, Mac, you're like the token for TIR, and I'm like, I like it. I'm here for it, man.
Everybody, let me say this. I know this isn't a main show, but I've been getting a lot of these things like, where's so and so? Where's so and so? Everyone has real lives, and they are I can't get into what everyone is doing. And Pascal is very ill and will not be coming back on the air for the foreseeable future. He's very, very ill. So please leave some positive thoughts for our brother Pascal. But Gene Bajlan is taking on some amazing work that we would all be proud of if I could say out loud. I just haven't talked to him about it, what he's doing. In addition to his full-time teaching and fatherly duties. And Cuba is out, sabotaging the world somewhere in Asia. I'm not gonna get into exactly what Kuba's doing, but he, we've talked. We're all probably going to be on air. Pascal's birthday is coming up, and we're all probably going to be on air soon to celebrate that in a couple weeks. But so someone said friendship ended with Kuba. Now Mac is my wife. but I thank you so much for, and anyone listening, is there anything we can send at the moment, Steve? No, please do not.
Just say good vibes.
Just good
guys.
vibes right
Just
now,
say
man.
good
That's
vibes.
all I can say right now. I can't. I will not get into it, but just please keep them in your. If you're a religious person, Pascal is very. You guys are gonna make me cry. He's a very religious person, so if you have prayers, keep them in them. If you have crystals, rub them. I don't know what it is.
Burn the incense, whatever.
Burn the incense, whatever it is. Just think positive thoughts for the brother. It's anyway. Let's switch gears briefly.
Yeah, let's watch a funny video because that guy.
Oh, do you want to watch some of the videos we got queued up for tomorrow?
Oh, dude, let's watch 2 of them.
Do you want to watch a video for okay? Who watching the show right now wants to watch some champagne room videos for tomorrow?
We guys, we have to have a palate cleanser because we did get heavy there. We had a really good sports discussion, and we got a little heavy. Let's have a cleanser, like an aperitif, if you will.
Okay, let me see what I can show you, because there's a big topic we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about on the champagne room tomorrow. We're going to talk about what's that, Megan Thee Stallion.
Oh,
and the way she's getting kind of drugged through the internet mud.
For what happened now?
Well, I mean, you got to see it, dude. I can't play it.
I got you.
But if you're around tomorrow, I want the link to the show. Even if you want to like jump in,
dude, I'd probably be down. I got to see what time I get off work tomorrow. Which, I mean, we won't have that problem much longer because I'll make this quick. A store in the adjoining town.
Mm-hmm.
Had to get sprayed for bugs, natural thing at a place that makes food, right? Mm-hmm. Well, when they did that, like one of the walls kind of like fell, the drywall fell in, black mold everywhere.
Oh.
So they had to shut this fucker down, right? Oh. So now it doubled the size of our delivery area, but you know what else we had to take on? All the employees. So all the people at my store got their hours cut because, they have to work too. And I understand that, and I'm here to support them. But when I say I need to do 30 hours a week at both jobs to like keep my lights on and pay my bills, that means I need 30 hours a week at both jobs, and both jobs have cut me back to 20 a week. And it's just like, fuck. Yeah. So
give you this.
So I'm just gonna have to do like a Cardi B and go shake my ass at a club for a little bit.
Maybe you'll have to do this sport. We never talk about this. We talk about the slapping, which I still think is the stupidest thing ever.
Yes, I've seen one. This is where they hold hands, right?
They just hold. They're bound. They're bound together by their non-dominant hands.
Oh, and they just tee off on each other.
And okay, here you go. Here you go. Tell me why this is a thing.
Ой-ой-ой. Вот это все жестко. Так, ой, как он перелазит. Бах. Ой-ой-ой, пока что выхватывает. Ой-ой-ой. Ой-ой-ой. Его жесткие закидушки, если он попадет. Да, есть, ой-ой-ой. Есть. Неплохо. Да, неплохо. Есть. Хорошо работает. Товарищ судья тоже смотрит. Мне кажется, он может сломать руку об стол, потому что, у него слишком сильный замах. Это очень заруба, жестко.
What is this?
Of course it's Russian. Of fucking course. Like Vladimir was like, you know what? War effort going very bad. We need to distract the people. So you're going to tie hands together and they just punch each other right in the face. Yeah. I don't get like I get I get like the spectacle of actual combat sports, right?
Yes.
Like I boxed. I
Yes.
love the sport. I love MMA.
Yes.
I mean, we even saw a really bad stoppage this week, Jason, where a dude was out and the ref didn't step in, and the guy who was fighting him hit him just with like another 4 shots before he stepped in, and everybody let that ref have it. And the ref was like, "Dude, I fucked up." I mean,
Oh,
I'm glad he admitted he fucked up, but that dude, holy
is the
shit,
cat
right?
okay? You know, that's the main thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Steve said this is the
The CTE Olympics.
I thought the slapping thing was like, come on, man. Do you just again back to the whole thing about the way we look at sports? I need the money shot. Even the way we listen to music, right? I was listening to, it was Madonna's like 40th or 35th anniversary or something for the Justify My Love Truth or Dare thing.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know if you remember that video, but I remember it was like, MTV, we can't play this video. It's too sexy.
Yeah.
And here we are with you know, eating everybody's ass, and you know, my cum is so infected with STDs that it will turn yours green. Like, these are the lyrics in the song. Like, we're taking all there's nothing sexy about, I gotta piss. You want to eat my ass? I'm gonna eat your ass. But not
Yeah.
piss. And I just had some messy nachos. It's like, there's nothing. It's just like, here's the act. There's no sexiness to it. It's just like you go up to a chick and you're like, hey, I just have to release.
Dude, yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. Like, I went out like a couple weeks ago, and I'm sitting at the bar with my friends, and there's this young dude, and you can tell he's maybe 21, 22 years old. He's a soldier. He's already fucked up. Right. And everybody in chat knows like the brand new private to post. Anybody that served, you know, the brand new privates to post. Like they're rocking the high and tight. They're not pushing the regulations with sideburns, right? You know, they have like their unit PT shirt on.
Yeah.
Like they have jeans on, but with like an army belt, or it's a regular belt and they're wearing their boots, right? So this guy just walks in, he's checking every one of those fucking blocks, right? And keep in mind, I go to these dive bars where it's like been the same people for a decade. And he comes stumbling in, and he's just like, you know, hey, can I get a beer? And Joss, the bartender, was like, I need a CID. And he produces a driver's license that says he's like, you know, he's of age. So Joss gets him a Bud Light, and he kind of turns, you know, like you see those. I hate when dudes do this, but like they turn around, put their back to the bar, and just kind of lean on it.
Oh, wow.
Right. And he's doing that. And we're all just kind of looking at him. And there's some beautiful women that go there. Right. But keep in mind, they're dating like sergeant majors or like MCs, you know, like dudes and MCs. Right. So he went up to one. I'm going to give her a pseudonym here. We'll call her Gracie. And she was wearing like those yoga pants that have like essentially the thing that like makes the pants go up your ass crack.
What is with the new
shaped
yoga? What's with the new thongy yoga pants?
I'm here for it, dude.
I'm not complaining. I'm just like, what's the deal with thongy yoga pants?
Yeah, right. So she's shooting pool. So she's, you know, bent over shooting pool.
Just seeing the whole
dude.
group.
Yeah. And keep in mind, she's what my daughter, who I told you were, you know, she's bisexual, and she too has a thing for Rhea Ripley, and like that's her type, right? And Gracie is kind of built like that, right? So this guy walks up to her and is like, you know what I'd like to do to you right now?
Oh my God.
He's like, I would rip a fart out of your asshole and hold it like a bong hit. Right? And she turns and goes, that's the best you got. Right? And, you know, he was like, well, he's like, I can come up with something else. She's like, sweetheart, listen, one, you're not my type. There isn't an ounce of muscle on you. You're tall, you're lanky. She's like, I'd even gather that your penis is average to small.
Oof.
You know, And she's like, but see, my man who's sitting over there in the corner and her dude, we're not like friends, we're acquaintances, but he's a generally just really quiet guy.
Mhm.
But he is just a massive walking ball of muscle and facial hair.
Kind of like you.
Well, he's 6'6", though. He's like
Jesus
just
Christ.
right. And he's like, oh, like, so that's your guy? And she's like, yeah, that's my guy. Right. And he stands up. And I'm just like, oh, fuck, man. And he walks up to him and he's like, kid, I'm pretty sure my cock is bigger around than you are. Right. And this kid's just like, he's like, I appreciate you acknowledging the fact that my old lady has a great ass. He's like, it is phenomenal. Right. And then like everybody around the pool table is like, well, yeah.
Golf clapped her.
Yeah. They're just like, and so her boyfriend looks at him and is like, you're going to finish that beer, which is $3.50. And then you're going to go tip Joss like an extra $10. And then you're going to get the fuck out of here. Because if you don't, I'm going to wear you like a boot.
Oof.
Right.
Oof.
And this kid, like I said, he's already fucked up and he's not processing everything clearly.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, so you'd put your foot in my ass? Right. And we're all just sitting there like this, Jason, like, what? And I'm expecting, her band to explode. And I just see him like get ripped in half, But like he starts laughing, right? He just starts laughing. And he's like, kid, you are the dumbest person I've encountered here in like a week. And that's saying something. And the kid goes, okay, so I'm going to pay $3.50 for the beer and leave a $10 tip. And he's like, yeah, and then you have to go. And he's like, well, I have to wait on my Uber. And he's like, well, you can wait outside.
Yeah, that's what outside's for.
And he goes, but it's cold. Right? And I'm like, I cannot believe this interaction is happening like this, right? And so like he let the kids sit right by the door next to the bouncer. And he's like, hey guys, my Uber's here. I gotta go. And we're all like, hey man, peace. Like enjoy your evening wherever you're going. But I was just like, what is it with these young guys? Because this isn't the first time I've seen this. That just go up and say shit like that to women or dudes that they're interested in. I'm like, I'm not what you would call like a smooth talking person, but I can carry on a conversation, right? Yeah. And maybe at a certain point, I'm like, you know what? I'd like for you to use my face like a bicycle seat.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's okay. We've established a
rapport,
a connection, a rapport, right? He just walked up.
No.
And was just like, talking about asshole bong hits, man. And I'm like,
no.
What? Yeah.
No, you can't. Yeah. You can't do that.
That shouldn't be an opener. That should not be an opener. Like, that's like when you've been with somebody a year and you just want to say something silly to them. Okay, sure. Right? But you've never met this person before and you immediately go to butt stuff. That's brave, man. That's a level of bravery that I am not capable of.
I just don't understand, like, who you thought that was going to work on. Like what woman or what man ever has been like, I want to suck a fart out of your ass. Oh, no shit.
I have a feeling he's used that on a younger woman and it worked.
Gross. How young? Like 12?
God, I hope not.
Oh.
I'm more along the lines at this point in my life where like I would like to have a partner who doesn't want me around all the time, right? Maybe 4 days a week. And then we go off and do the things in our lives for the other 3. And then occasionally we get together, we read our books together, we watch a movie, she smacks me around a bit, I enjoy myself, and then, we go about our day. It's just like, I never thought that I would witness shit like this in my life. And I was in the infantry for 16 fucking years. I saw too much. I heard too much. You know, like I walk into the office at 4:30 with my tea, and my first sergeant's already bitching about something. So I close my office door and I turn the light off and I put my headlamp on so I can actually do work without the first sergeant knowing I'm there. And then we have the morning meeting, and then Joe starts showing up at 5:30, 6 o'clock, before 6:30 formation. And I go down to the cage room, and, we'll say it's during the summer. We're already sweating our dicks off because it's 98 degrees with 140% humidity at 6 a.m. in North Carolina in June or July. And I'm just sitting there drinking some water, polishing off my tea, and I hear two soldiers like, yeah, man, dude, you know what we did this weekend? Eiffel Towered a girl. And I'm just like, you did what?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, Sergeant Mac. Yeah, man. That's like when one dude hits it from the front.
Yeah,
I'm like, yeah, I get it. And then you lean together with your hands. Yeah, I'm aware.
Yeah, you're like,
yeah,
yes,
Sean.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, Sean. I was in the deuce for 13 out of my 16 years. But I just like hear some others like, dude, got a Blumpkin.
Ew.
Did what? Why? What? Why would you want a blowjob while you're taking a shit?
Oh.
And the guy goes, well, I'm knocking out two birds with one stone, being efficient.
That's not efficient. That's gross.
I was like, that's nasty, bro. I was like, what is wrong with you guys? They're like, what, you didn't get into like all kinds of shit when you were private? I'm like, I can tell you right now, I didn't Eiffel Tower anybody. I didn't get a Blumpkin, right?
You're like, I didn't get all rapey in my time.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't get all rapey in my time.
I'm not going to lie. There were a couple of times where I was so drunk, I passed out during sex and had a woman pass out during sex as well. Trust me, you haven't had a bad blowjob until she's going down on you, and then you hear
my low self-esteem would kick in, and I would just start crying.
Bro, I was just like,
and we're like, man, is it because it's me?
Like, and the thing is, I'm at her place, and I just was like, I'm not going home. I'm gonna go to sleep. And like, she had like the heat on up until like 85, so I'm like sweating profusely. And like, so I like kicked the comforter, and I just like used the sheet.
Oh my god!
And I like, when we woke up the next morning, I'm like, so was it that bad? You decided to fall asleep with my dick in your mouth? And she was like, I was just really tired, and it happens. And I was like, what are you, narcoleptic?
For your dick, I am.
Yeah, obviously.
Then you go hang out with her and her friends. She's talking about everybody she blew wide awake. I had like 8 tranquilizers, but I was still awake enough to fucking get under the balls. And then it's you. And it's like
sitting over here with my beer, like,
thinking about other shit. Like, oh man, I got to take out the trash tomorrow.
Well, my feelings are hurt. I'm gonna go drink until I forget my name. Goodbye.
So to change this the subject before we get totally banned. I can't keep teetering until it's like, well, we got to kick you all the way off. So the director was down here, and he was going to take the train back home, and I go, let me just drive you back. Because your train leaves so late, I don't think we're going to make it across the border in time because you're leaving on a Monday and it's really busy. He goes, okay. So we're driving back. We have to leave early in the morning. And he goes, I could just sleep in the car on the way back. I was like, perfect. I just happened to be really gassy.
You had that Taco Bell,
didn't you? We don't have it out here. It was just, I made something that was just, there was a little, maybe it was very delicious. I'm blaming the garlic powder. I'm not blaming my 46 years of life.
Listen, my intestines haven't aged a day since I was 20. Okay,
that's what I tell myself, and that's what I try to tell that 28-year-old young man in the passenger seat next to me. But he dozes off, and I'm like, I can't hold this fart in. It's like a 3-hour drive to Los Angeles, and I think the kid is asleep, and I could just fart. And it was quiet. The fart itself didn't wake him up. It was the smell.
Oh,
Because he would
jeez.
sleep like this. You know how when cats be so tired, his mouth was open.
Oh.
So he would sleep. Mac, he woke up. He went.
Dude, you almost killed him with a mouthful of fucking shit flakes, man.
He started to go. And I was like, I'm so sorry, because I tried to be slick with the window, right? Trying to be. So Sean Moon says, crack the damn window. Sean, I was trying to be slick with the window, but you know, I don't have one of them new cars. I got an old ass car. So when you open the window, it ain't that old, but it's close. That motherfucker's close. He was like, you ain't got Bluetooth? I'm like, man, if you don't shut the fuck up.
Oh my God.
So Mac. I'm trying to be slick with the window. Man, that poor kid ate all that fart. He was like, so why did he send me this video? And he said, you had me like this on the way home.
The caption was the best part. Bro ducked like he was dodging bullets. Oh. You know what the sad thing is we've all been the guy in the stall. Okay.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like if you're at like a show or like at a game,
yeah,
and like dude, it used to be because like I didn't really pace myself, but like if I went to Cleveland and went to Muni Lot, like we start drinking at 9 a.m. like sometimes a little earlier than that if we're like cooking something. So like by kickoff at 1, dude, you're already like half in the bag. You haven't eaten enough. And like you're sitting there and you stand up and you just feel it. And just like, you know, and I'm just like, I was like, oh my God. Bro, I'm talking, I chugged the rest of my beer and just took off. I think my feet touched the ground like 3 times trying to get to the bathroom. And I was that poor soul. Just like, it was like Lloyd from Dumb and Dumber, you know? Just like,
dude, that poor kid, man. I'm sure he had to wash his clothes when he came home.
Listen, everybody, we've learned that when you march and protest and the cops fire tear gas at you, when riding in the car with Jason and he farts, you will have to wash your clothes. And if that's the case, remember, you wash them by itself, and then you take a bleach cloth to wash the inside of the washer to make sure all the leftover chemical is gone as well. You know,
I do. It would. When he sent that, like that was the only thing he sent. Not like, yeah, hope you got home safe. He just goes, hey, this reminds me. Try. I wish you could. I feel so bad, man, because I was trying to. You know how you try to act like you don't know. Must be outside.
Man, we're driving past that paper plant that's right here in Rosarito. I have Google, and there's nothing like that here. You shit in my mouth, okay? Okay, so when I get down
so
there,
do you feel better now?
Yeah, so I'm gonna bring some activated charcoal just so we don't have issues like that.
Like, you know, the sad part, as this is all happening, I was telling the kid, I was like, you know, you ever have gas so bad because the kid lives alone too, and you fart in your house? You're like, God, this is horrible. I'm so glad I live alone. I was like, I'm having one of those episodes, and now you're here.
It's like, bro, you're really crimping my style right now.
Like, So yeah, now I got to prepare myself for date life again, and just like, okay, I'm only going to eat air for the next week and a half. It should be good.
So we're gonna go out to eat. There's this great air bar and gastropub. It's
You just
just
enjoy your food. What do you mean I'm not eating? Oh, I ate a week ago. I'm fine. Just
Yeah.
please, please.
Don't worry. If I nod off because of malnutrition and my body's just slowly breaking down my internal organs to keep it all functioning, just poke me with a stick. I will wake back up because it's gonna hurt real fucking bad. Okay.
Like I just want you to love me for me and then meet the real me, which is a gaseous nightmare.
Yeah. Or what you can do, just grab a pack of smokes and be like, I'm gonna go out and smoke a cigarette, never crack the fuckers open, and just be like, just hope there's no outdoor seating, like you walk out, rip the ass, and like everybody just kind of turns and looks at you, and you can see her through the window seeing all this happening, and she's just like, ugh.
Dude. So Virtual said just have water and fruit. Like I'm so terrified. Like you ever been one of those people that you always fart and you just blame something you eat? People are like, man, all you had was water and fruit. You're like, I don't know, it's just water. There's something wrong with the water fruit.
Yeah, and that avocado. All
Right,
right, it's just
avocados a motherfucker out here, man. It's Mexico. Mexicados. It's
that's right there.
aguajetes is a motherfucker, man.
The sad thing is I feel for that kid because when we would do mounted patrols, you have a guy in the turret just standing there.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're in the front seats, his ass is right there.
Oof.
Right? And the turret rotates. So like if he's not the front of the front vehicle in the convoy where the weapon is pointed straight out, like you're pointed off to the sides. So like you just prayed that you were situated where the gun truck in front of you would have their gunner to the left. That way my gunner could be to the right and his asshole's not directly pointing at me. And I had this kid named Mac, Drew Mac. He was like 6'4", just jacked, and he protein shakes was his thing. Like he always had a protein shake. And this dude, we got real food finally for the first time in like 5 months. So we had like a chicken and we had like some veggies and shit.
Mm-hmm.
And dude, we were all kind of hurting because by this point we had been eating MREs and maybe like some jerky because that's all we had access to. And dude, we're like 5 minutes into this trip. It's like a fucking 3-hour drive around all these like switchbacks going up a mountain in Afghanistan. So like you can't, like our tires are hanging off the side of the road. Like these things are so thin. And you just hear like 5 minutes into it, I'm talking to everybody and you just hear, and I'm like, Mac, you did not. He's like, yeah, man. Couldn't hold it. And the driver, Kyle, he's just like, oh, I'm like, KJ, keep your fucking eyes on the road. He's like, he's like trying to blink back tears. Okay. Like, and the guys in the back don't hear it because like it's so fucking loud. Like you're really focused. And you just hear, I can't remember. It might have been Drew. Anyway, like one of the guys in the back is just like, oh my God, like that smells awful. And Matt goes, you're welcome, dude. He's like, you can't hold greatness like that in. Right. And I was like, Mac, I'm very upset with you. And he's like, just wait. And I hear the turret rotate. And I'm like, no. Fucking farting in my face for the next 3 hours.
Oof.
Right. We like set up we kind of circle the wagons. Like we start a rest plan because like our mission's not kicking off till the next day. And I'm like, Mac, I see him digging in his assault pack to pull out like another protein shake. And I took it and I like threw it off the ridge. I was just like, no. I was like, no. I was like, never again. I was like, that was fucking foul, dude. And he's like, you think this body doesn't produce waste? Bro. Yeah. I was just like, Mac, I have never hated anybody as much as I hate you right now.
Oh, dude. I wish I had that level of like confidence, but it was just a shame on my end.
Dude, see
And
that, dude, that's how I am, man. Like because like I am taking protein. I know my farts smell like warmed over death.
yeah,
So like even when I'm in my room, if I have to fart, I turn my fan on.
but you know what I mean? Like when you live alone, like I live alone in this place. It's not the biggest apartment, but it's a decent size to live alone. And I leave windows open and shit. And the door to my terrace is this big sliding glass door. And because we have concrete houses, you get a lot of mildew.
Yeah.
So I leave it open. And the kid's like, "Oh, it's kind of chilly." I'm like, "Don't close that." Like that's the thing telling me that I'm not a horrible man.
It's for your safety.
Yeah.
All right. See,
I need
you
to
know,
put like warnings up like an airplane.
I don't feel bad for him now because like you tried to warn him. I tell you, don't.
Oh,
close that
dude,
door.
I had that car with there was a couple in the car that were pretty bad. Finally, the poor kid went to sleep. Look, we have to go. You've been nice enough to be on air for almost 2.5 hours.
Talking about farts. Everybody, this used to be This Is Revolution. Now this is a 9-year-old's podcast. I made Legos and farted loud.
This is one of those days when I wish like MT was here
Oh my gosh.
to like yell at us about this conversation and
Oh,
then give her 2 cents on.
Oh, dude. I wish she was too, because we could have like talked like MT, how do you feel? How would you feel if like you were
how would you feel?
And Jason just like drops a fucking A-bomb of a fart.
She's already seen me do so many ridiculous things in real life. She saw me run from rats for like 2 hours in New York.
Well, in New York, that makes sense. They're the size of horses.
Oh my God, those rats had saddles.
Yeah,
They're
dude.
so big.
I just can't imagine what like the like sanitation workers, like the ones that are tasked with like tracking and trapping and fucking getting those things.
Dude.
No. Dude,
those rats were all Italian with bad attitudes.
Yeah, dude. They wear wife beaters and they have gold chains. I'm like, oh.
hey, Paisan, I'm trying to eat your crumbs over here. What are you?
Hey, you're taking my trash, huh? My trash? We mean no offense to any Italian Americans out there where that description maybe hit a little close. And if it did, new wardrobe, man. It's okay. It's okay.
Can you imagine if like a bunch of Italians just started sending hate mail in?
Oh, yeah. I'm surprised it hasn't happened already.
I do. Pascal hears the Italian voice and he gets like PTSD from growing up in Queens.
I mean, dude, it's funny. Like, you know, my family's Irish, and people think, well, you know, they were part of the great Irish and Catholic diaspora, and they got along well. I'm like, no, dude. Obviously, you didn't know shit about what these two cultures think about each other. Like, my grandmother swore up and down, if I married an Italian woman, she would disown me.
Jesus.
Yes, just have this unending hatred towards Italians.
God damn.
What was great is my fucking cousin ended up marrying a woman from Italy. Like he went and
got one from the source.
Bro, he went to school in Venice. Like he got to go to college there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he meets an Italian girl. He spends like another 2 years over there, like I think finished up master's program, and came back over, booed up with an Italian girl. My grandmother was like, looks at her, you know, my aunt is like, "You're gonna let this happen?" You know, like
it's worse than Guess Who's Coming to Dinner.
Yeah, and my aunt's just like, well, yeah, I've known about her for a few years now. I don't see the big deal. And she's like, you don't? And then she looks at this poor girl who like speaks English, but it's accented. And she's like, so what's your last name? DeMarco? Spaghetti? Ravioli? Like just gets fucking horrible. And I'm just like, and in my head, I'm like, please say something like fire back. And then she's just like, "So is everybody here drunk? Or you guys go to AA
Ooh.
meetings now?" And my grandmother was just like, and the rest of us just start dying laughing. And then my one great uncle, who's actually like a recovering alcoholic, was like, "That's not funny." And like we were just like, "Dude, you've got like your 40-year chip, okay? Just sit over there and shut the fuck up. Let this poor girl just leave her alone."
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, but yeah, like it's just people don't realize there's a reason when like they came over,
Mhm.
they had their own sections of town and they wanted it that way.
Yeah.
They didn't want to be pals, you know? Like
It's a real thing. Someone asked, "How does Pascal feel about velour tracksuits?" It depends who's wearing them. It
yeah.
depends who's wearing them. If two white guys are wearing them and they have their sleeves a little rolled up,
Oh,
gold chains, he's probably the PTSD is gonna kick in.
yeah. And then these days, they're probably Russian or Eastern European, so I'd say that's even worse.
That's what Cuba, Cuba does that for the live shows. He's got an all red Adidas tracksuit, but he wears it with the shirt.
Oh man. You know what? I might have to get a green one. Just have it unzipped all the way down to here, you know?
Dude, he's ridiculous. Like, he is ridiculous.
You gotta be, man. Like
Yes.
you know, like it's okay to have fun, everybody. It's okay that we do this, every few Wednesdays. We laugh, we have fun, and then we go to sleep. And then when we wake up in the morning, that's when we can deal with our existential dread. It's okay to do that.
Yes. I have to, when I'm done with this show, I have to kind of finish the notes for tomorrow, which is a show I'm looking forward to doing, but not looking forward to doing. One of those things.
Yeah.
I fucked around. I was on Majority Report recently, and I fucked around and read the comments. Oof.
Oh man, dude. If I ever found myself on there, that's the one place I'd avoid was the comments.
Mac, that episode had like 450 comments.
Jesus Christ, Jason.
I told him a Vigeland, I don't give a shit what white people think in their hearts. Boy, I didn't know that was going to set off so many people.
Oh man, dude, that's the thing. If you say some shit like, "I don't give a shit what all you like cracker ass white folks think in your heart," you know what they're gonna do next? "Oh, I'm gonna say it out loud now. That's what I'm gonna do." They rolled up to the keyboard and did one of these and just
it's been I made the mistake and then all I heard was Tucson in my ear. When you respond back, you give the comment validity. Sean Moon, kind of. I won't say it out loud, but yeah, it was pretty intense. I didn't think they were gonna cut a clip of it.
Oh, dude, you should have known.
It's like viral. Mac.
Hey, what you guys got to look forward to? He's going to be on the Young Turks next week, so wait for that clip to pop up.
Did I ever read you the comments from when I was on the Young Turks?
No.
Those were the greatest comments I've ever read in my life.
How unhinged were they? On a scale,
I don't understand.
Let's do a fart scale. One.
Should we pull it up?
One
Should we
being,
pull it up and read them?
One being like, "Oh, I farted. Doesn't smell that bad." And 10 being what you did to that poor kid in the car.
They were putting doo-doo chips in that kid's mouth. It was like sprinkling, Salt Bay. It was like, but with doo-doo. That's doo-doo, baby.
Little fart flake.
Mac, one person said. What I love is in comments when people make up who you are.
Oh, that's always my favorite.
And one guy in the Majority Report comment, one guy said that I'm not a real punk rocker, and I've never lived the life, and I don't know what that means. And then they said that he's got RICO cases, and I was like, well, that just means you're a criminal of some kind. Like, I don't know. That means you're a punk rocker. Like, you can make meth in your bathtub and get some RICO charges.
No shit. Yeah.
What that means.
I think people forget what punk really was.
Look, I don't know. And then he said that I paint my fingernails. And I've never done it. Not that I have anything against it, just not my thing. Just don't do it.
It's not my aesthetic.
I was on the show with like a Broncos jacket and a hat. Like, what about that made you think? So I thought that was funny. And then on the Young Turks, me and Bert Cooper were in a Denny's in LA. I'll never forget that. Reading the comments, tears rolling down our face. One guy said, "This is the world that Anna Kasparian wants, of sexless government." What was it? Sucking off the government, sexual automatons.
Oh my gosh.
being force-fed hormones to spit out babies from. It was like the most unhinged. I was like, she brought me on to talk about working in a homeless shelter.
What in the actual fuck?
Dude. And so when I was on the Majority Report, the clip that is the popular one is, are these people kneecapping the left? Because I wrote this article in Damage Magazine.
Yeah.
With Ta-Nehisi Coates and Ibrahim X. Kendi. And you know, I really, again, I don't know the audience that well. And people were so mad that I was like, nah, don't really like Kendi and Coates. I don't really think their project is one. There's a reason why corporations love this shit, because, you know.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. That's what always kills me with like a lot of these, and I call them faux leftists, because it's like they picked up the manifesto. Maybe they read The Conquest of Bread once.
Maybe.
And now they're experts who like don't have any hand in like actually improving their community. What they are very active on is, you know, social media.
Oh,
you know,
brother, you have no idea what somebody sent me something on Twitter. He was like, Ibrahim X. Kendi sounds like Bernie Sanders. He really is an anti-capitalist. I don't think that's corporate friendly. I was like, and he was quoting Robin DiAngelo and Ibrahim Kendi, like, no, they're anti-capitalist. I was like, I don't know what that means. I literally said on the show, the best capitalism is anti-capitalism. There's a reason why corporations pay these people hundreds of thousands of dollars to speak, because it's a multi-level marketing thing for corporations to not really deal with attacking capital.
Yeah.
And I said to the person, I was like, well, get rid of all the racism in the world or in America tomorrow. Get rid of it all. What is that going to do economically for 40 million black people in America? Like, really?
Oh, let's face it. If we hit the eliminate racism button, which I'm sure is somewhere in Washington, they just lost it. Okay. Like they misplaced it. They probably gave it to the Pentagon to hold on to, and we all know they don't know what the fuck's going on. So
they're juggling it like a guy with 100 pizzas.
Yeah, you know, like slid under a desk that's been there for fucking 60 years. They just lost track of it. You know, you do that, like what? Nothing fundamentally changes, and this is the sad part, right? We have the white powerful folks, right, that need the isms, whether it be racism, being a homophobe, homophobic, things like that. Because say we hit all those buttons and we eliminate all that stuff, it still leaves one very, very, very important thing. And it's the working class, who are still being horribly exploited, still as a second class to these fucking, corporate types. And it's just, it's like what Musk said at the same speech where he told Bob Iger to go fuck himself. He says, well, I don't like unions because it sets up a master and servant relationship. I'm like, dude, you are the richest man in the world on paper. You are the master. what are you fucking missing here, you idiot? You know, like, you are fucking like, I am dumbfounded, and I don't mean to go on this mini screed this late. I am dumbfounded how people can sit here and talk about his genius when he's literally failed upwards his entire fucking life. The only time he's ever fell down was when that kid in South Africa kicked him down the stairs, and I wish he would have done it a few more fucking times.
And is it better if a black person does it instead? I would ask that question. And look, racism is something I have literally experienced in my life, like on a level I don't even want to get into on the show. And I've talked about it in the Champagne Room several times. Talked about it in the main show several times. All of us on the show have experienced it at one point or another. Gene Bajlan has some horrible stories about it growing up where he lived in Hull. That being said, all of us understand that, you know, while of course we would like the isms to stop, right? If you let every trans person use whatever bathroom they wanted to use tomorrow, is that going to stop the fact that so many of them are kind of forced into sex work? Does that present all of a sudden equal opportunities? Like, you tell me.
Yeah, I mean,
again, I come from a city that is pretty even across the board racially. And I said this on the show and no one cared. It's pretty even across the board racially. That doesn't mean the wealth is distributed evenly.
Yeah. I mean, dude, let's face it. No matter how we're seeing movements pop up. Like, I love the union movement, and especially with Sean Fain talking about the evils of capital.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's great. But with him winning that deal, all right, with the Legacy 3, you know, and him saying, I'm coming after Toyota and Honda and Tesla, all that's going to do is kind of galvanize those companies and especially the personalities behind them, like the people who hold the big stock options and shit like that. It's going to galvanize them to actively work against not just the UAW, but every fucking union out there, you know? And we were starting to see it with, fucking Peter Thiel was running around with Zaslav, the head of Warner Brothers Discovery during the SAG-AFTRA and the WGA strike. Why is Peter Thiel there? He's been a producer on like 2 movies. He's there because he has investments in everything. He owns stock and all this shit. And he doesn't want a unionized workforce. I mean, the guy actively came out and says there needs to be an upper class and America should be a monarchy. Like, what the fuck? So like, we have to, I think we need to be more cognizant of the Sean Fains and some of those. I mean, even Chris Smalls, especially with Amazon. I think the steam kind of has been released from his movement because he kind of took it on the chin in that other warehouse in New York State that he was trying to unionize. But still, we need, maybe it's kind of cheesy, but I think if we're going to actively try and push things left, it has to come through a very organized movement. And honestly, the only organized movements we have at this point are the unions, and they still only make up 15% of the workforce. I
mean, I think a lot of the people that are pontificating about what is revolution and who's a revolutionary subject have this idea that the vanguard of the revolution is no longer, even from the 60s when they thought it was going to be out of the academy because the working class was too reactionary. I think that thought is still in a lot of people. It's like, oh, the vanguard of the revolution is going to be podcasters. It's retarded.
Yeah, right? Some of us can't even have a good production schedule.
It's just, and when you see the Chris Smalls of the world and the Sean Fains of the world, these guys that are organizing in spaces where you are going to be with people that you don't align with politically. There's probably people that have some racist leanings. And we got Griscom coming on to talk about the Tenant Farmers Union in the Jim Crow South that is a cross-racial alliance. Like, these things have happened. And this person was like, well, if you ended racism tomorrow, then, you could have these alliances, because the only reason why we can't have them now is because of racism. And they talked about like municipal spending. And I was like, you think there's no cities where black people run them?
Yeah.
You been to New York, LA, San Francisco,
Detroit,
It
Cleveland.
was like, what you're just living in a make-believe world. But that's look, I don't want to get into it too much because we have to stop having bad.
Yeah, I mean it's absolutely nuts, you know. And what really bothers me, kind of tying it back to the whole point of the show today, was like we are seeing huge amounts of capital being used to further a divide between the haves and have-nots.
Mm-hmm.
We really are, and it's not going to stop as long as, you know, I guess the have-nots don't have an ability to claw something back. And in college sports, especially football and basketball, like, hate to tell you guys, it's every bit as bad in basketball as well. It's a little more egalitarian in college basketball because you don't need to recruit 100 players, right? You only need 15. So you can hit on it. Wichita State's done a good job of it. Like, they're a relevant program. But Gonzaga, who saw that fucking happening? Tiny Catholic school in the Northwest, goes out and recruits everywhere. Gets in there.
Where you were on the show when I brought Coach Will on.
Yeah.
He was telling some of the horror stories of basketball recruiting. I don't remember how long ago that was. We've been doing the show for about a year or 2 years. A year?
Probably a year and a half.
Okay. It was an early episode. And I remember it's got to be 2 years because I was living in Oakland. Yeah, I was living in Oakland. And he was telling me about a dude, because anyone that wants to get recruited out of Oakland, they have to contact Oakland High's coaches, and Will is one of the Oakland High's coaches, right?
Yeah.
Dame Lillard, that's Will. And this dude was like, yeah, you're the guy to talk to. Do you have any players that have some eligibility left? They got a program out of this one small college. Like you were talking about these colleges that pop up out of nowhere. And a bunch of kids had like a few years of eligibility left because they did like some JUCO stuff, or they did some Division III stuff out of state. And this dude was like burning people's eligibility because the program wasn't in a division yet, and there's like rules to that.
Yeah.
You can't just jump in a division because you want to jump in a division. You have to play so many games against lower divisions until you're like chosen. And there was a lot of lying about who the head coach was going to be. He was lying and saying Brian Shaw was going to be the head coach of the school. It was like some school in Oakland. That was a school for just something. And then he promised the kids that going to the school they would be able to graduate, because these kids they were Will's kids, so they all wanted to graduate college, right?
Yeah.
And they were ended up like just burning time at this place because their credits weren't transferable. And
this school probably didn't even have enough classes for them to finish a degree.
It didn't. And then Will was telling me the horror stories of the kids that went to go play for LeVar Ball.
Oh yeah, in his little academy or whatever that he set up.
Well, his league. Remember he had a league,
yeah,
Ballers or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Those kids lost all their amateur eligibility,
mm-hmm.
and some of them made like maybe a couple $100.
Oh, if that. I mean, the dude ended up. I think he settled a class action suit about that league, with players and as well as advertisers, because he promised a big thing for advertisers, and you get companies that don't get a good return, they're going to come after you to get their money. Like I feel horrible for his kids. Like, and I hate saying that about anybody that has children, but he was an overbearing cockbag who really used his kids as a vehicle for him to gain more notoriety. Right. And, the middle kid, LiAngelo, he never struck me as a dude who was going to make it in the league. I love the youngest one. I get to watch him all the time because he plays down in Charlotte. He's amazing when he can stay healthy. The kid up in Chicago, I just feel bad that his career has devolved because of injuries. And I don't think he's ever going to be the player that anybody imagined, because he's had two like horribly, like he's got two knee injuries that are leading into arthritis. And at his age,
Jesus, he's not even 30.
Yeah. But that's what happens when you have continual like stress injuries on ligaments and cartilage, in your joints, But it's just like that dude set his kids up for failure. One, by teaching him that janky ass shot that they brought to the league. That the youngest one immediately when he got drafted started working with Charlotte's coaches to get the hitch out of his giddy up. But parents like that are fucking awful. He was not a good dude. He's just not a good dude. And it's just his kids. They're not in trouble. The youngest one down in Charlotte, like he loves it down there. They just locked him into LaMelo. Thank you, Claw. I appreciate it, man. He is very well liked. He's very active in the community, and I hope the new owner of the Hornets actually build a team around this kid, because he is something else to watch. I went down there with my brother, who lives just south of the state line in South Carolina. We went to a game when they played the Cavs. Cavs pulled it out, but it's just watching him hit the way he sees the court. Like he's something else. I mean, he's a outstanding ball player. I just hope he can stay healthy. But yeah,
it's interesting to hear Will talk about this, because he's been in Oakland for I think 20 years now. They just won state this past year, 2023, and someone on the chat mentioned it, that do it like the British leagues. There's like 2 main leagues or whatever. And Will was saying that a few years ago. He goes, it feels like, especially with basketball, that you're getting a kind of a class of athlete, because so many of these kids, their fathers played, their mothers were athletic as well. Yeah. Maybe not even in the NBA, but they played at a high level. I mean, the Warriors at one point in time, I think their starting 5 a few years ago was all ex-players' kids.
Yeah, they were legacy players.
So, it's kind of what we're going to see. And this, the hood stories, the hoop dreams are kind of a thing of the past.
I mean, we talked about on an episode with Coach Will how specialized everything is. So, yeah, I mean, and again, that goes into the capitalization that you were referring to before. Look at IMG. Start out as a tennis academy, right? For tennis players, for young tennis players. And eventually got bought out by a sports agency that was like, we can make millions off of high school kids, giving them an education and allowing them to just pursue the sport that they've shown, a predilection for, a talent for, so like we're starting to see more and more of these pop up as these conservative state legislatures loosen up the credentialing rules for schools. That's how you were able to Sycamore. That's how you're able to see Bishop Sycamore. There's 3 other schools like that in Ohio, and the guy who started Bishop Sycamore is actually starting another.
Yep. Guess who's back? Hold up.
Yep. But Virtuoso asked if Conor McGregor was really running for president of Ireland. I'm going to keep this short and sweet. Conor McGregor is on the same ideological path as Elon Musk. I don't see him. You have to understand, you have the Tassic, which is the prime minister who's head of government, and the president is just head of state. So it's more ceremonial. I can see Irish people being like, yeah, he can be president because he can't do any damage there, like government-wise. But I don't think he will ever be Tassic. I don't think he would ever, or Taoiseach, excuse me. Taoiseach, which is the prime minister. But God, can you imagine him in charge of any government, Jason?
I don't want to see him in charge of a nightclub.
I don't want to see him in charge of a 7-Eleven.
I don't want to see him in charge of a Denny's.
I don't want to see him in charge of a cookout.
I don't want to see him in charge of the Waffle House on the bad side of town.
I don't want to see him in charge of the White Castle on the bad side of town.
I don't want to see Conor McGregor do anything. I don't want to see Conor McGregor work at a hot dog cart.
No, I don't want to see him handing me $5 pretzels in New York City. Okay, I don't want to.
I don't want to see Conor McGregor wearing a sandwich sign, handing out leaflets for Meinike's $49.95 muffler inspection.
And if you bring out that flyer, it's a 10% discount brought to you by University of Arizona Athletics. So,
And I don't want to see him do that.
yeah, I don't think the University of Arizona wants to be connected with them either. So,
Can you imagine if Conor McGregor was selling beer at a stadium?
God. Who the fuck are you? Yeah.
I'm just trying to buy a beer. You trying to test me?
You want to fight about it?
Someone's asking if you have your YouTube channel, Mac.
I do not yet, but because I work 2 shit jobs, I don't have a lot of time. But I had a great little history podcast where I interviewed subject matter experts, professors or actual historians about certain things. So if you want to listen to the 20 or so episodes I had of You Don't Know History, I had some great episodes. One with, if you guys know Joe Kasabian, he runs the Lions Led by Donkeys podcast. We talked about the invasion of Armenia. He's Armenian, not obviously with a last name like Kasabian, but he lives there now. He moved to Armenia. So he talked about that invasion in 2019. And then I interviewed Dr. David Walton, who was one of my professors at UNC Pembroke, who's now at Western Carolina in charge of the African American Studies program. And we talked about the Black Panthers and all their good and bad. Trust me, Dr. Walton grew up, with his parents actively involved in the Panthers. And as they were dying out, he was kind of coming of age. But he's a very great font of knowledge about the Panthers. And it was amazing because he got a little high and I got a little drunk because we went on for 3 hours talking about it because he wanted to really get into it. And I talked with Dr. Bradley Sommers about the Rust Belt and the effect of deindustrialization on, in the Midwest. So there was a lot of things. I wanted to keep it going, but I got to the point where I had just graduated college and I had to work. And I expected fully to have a real job by now. But that did not happen. And yeah, Joey, you can find it on Apple Podcasts. You can find it on Spotify. I made sure I got it out far and wide. But yeah, I have that. But yeah, I'm looking at maybe doing 15 to 20 minute, little history segments about all kinds of history. A lot of labor history, of course, but, talking about the World League of American Football, the actual World Football League that lasted a season and a half in the 70s.
Yeah.
So I want to do a lot of things. I have probably about 4 dozen scripts I had written up for You Don't Know History. I just couldn't. It became an issue with COVID hitting and then lifting and then being able to have the interview set up because professors were just run through raked over the coals when COVID hit. And then they started. Yeah, that's me. You Don't Know History with Michael McGinnis. That's me. But yeah, so it's pretty. I really enjoyed it. I'd love to get something up and running again
You're
like that.
You're not talking about your current podcast. That's in iHeartRadio.
That's right. That's right. The War Within, the Robert Bales story. If you want to hear about the notorious war criminal Robert Bales, we did a 12-parter that was on iHeartRadio that was released this summer going into September. That actually did pretty well. Not enough for iHeart to call us back for another one. So,
but Mac's going to be Mac when he can is going to be hosting when I can't. So
that's right.
And the new rule for guest hosts is it's your show for the night.
Well, I mean, then we're going to talk about farts and Rhea Ripley and her effect in dismantling capitalism. Okay, so we're just going to cover all the bases.
And Mac's been on the main show before, so please check out. I think Pascal was on that episode.
Yeah, I mean it was pretty rad because I've read a lot of what Pascal's put out in the world.
Yeah,
and I geeked out for the first 10 minutes. It was just but it was a great. I love this show. I love the community. It's fucking rad that I get to be a part of it, even if we're talking about farts and Rhea Ripley and sports and whatever else we talk about, but I mean, it's great being a part of this because it's funny, I work with a lot of younger kids and 2 of them listen to This Is Revolution, which I loved. And Tiana, she straight up said she just needed a voice. She needed to learn her voice from Black people. And I was like, well, that's good. You're in the right spot. I was like, but if you if you have questions on some of the things they talk about as far as like the actual readings and stuff, maybe like some questions about like what is leftism. I was like, I'm more than willing to to help you out. And she's like, you're a leftist? And I picked up my water bottle and it said, communism is kind of rad, isn't it? And she was just like, oh yeah. Okay, that makes sense. So like it's I like that you're pulling in younger people, because I think this is where we have to like really make the effort so that they're spun up in the right ways and not just kind of like that outrage leftism that we have so much of right now.
It's not that. It's angry liberals with a new fashion identity.
Yeah, that's
a lot of the language changed. You know what? We'll have this off air. If you guys enjoy Mac, look for him hopefully in a few weeks hosting the show. There's some guest hosts coming up soon, as Toussaint is very, very serious about being off, us main people being off the air and bringing in some guest hosts. So I love the guest host thing. It makes me super stoked when people are like, dude, I'd be honored. I'm like, what? So
well, dude, it's good. It's good to also get you a break, so you can just like take 10 minutes to like, I don't know, have a decent shit before you drive your producer to Los Angeles. Yeah. Because I guarantee you, if you pull that shit with him again, Jason, he's just gonna be like, you know what? I quit. I don't want to do this anymore.
We're just too close. We're too like, you don't understand, dude. Again, it wasn't how do you describe it when you're not fighting with someone, but you're just not agreeing. But it wasn't there was no animosity at all. Like if we were recording for a show,
how creative stuff goes though, right? Like there should be some kind of like push and pull, because if you just all go in on the same thing and kind of just like ride it out, you're gonna miss things that you probably should have picked up, one, and two, you're probably not gonna get a good product.
And you know what? Everyone on this show has no problem telling me to fuck myself.
Well, I mean, we're all still waiting for the OnlyFans link. So.
And he was like, I understand what you're trying to do, and I don't think it's going to work where you want it to work. And we're just move it to this way. We're going to do this way. We're going to do this way. And in the end, it's a little more work. But I believe he's right. There was just something I wanted to say. I was like, I think this needs to be said in the beginning. I think it makes some more sense in the beginning. And he was like, I see what you're trying to say.
And it's always the head tilt that gets you. And you're just like, oh, you.
I mean, this went on to like, early in the morning. And it wasn't even like a fight. Because I was like, you got to watch this thing. And we watched the thing. And he was like, yeah, man, I'm not disagreeing, but I don't think it's going to work there.
Yeah, it's just it's an idea joust. That's all it is, right? Like that's.
Oh man, that is not how either one of us thought this was going to be, and it ended up being fruitful, right? These things are supposed to be fruitful when you have these idea jousts. So
we have to coin that term. We have to copyright
idea
that shit.
I like idea jousts. When Ben Burgess lived two units down, we had these kind of discussions all the time.
Having an idea joust is a good thing. It kind of changes up the way you look at things, and especially as you get older, you have to start looking at things differently. Otherwise, you're going to end up like your boomer fucking parents and grandparents.
Oh, dude. Pascal, for the first like 3 years, it was idea joust every day. And then by the time we got everybody on the show, when it was like Varn, I mean, we still have a group called Not As Much. Varn, Kuba, me, Pascal, Toussaint, Bajlan. Oh yeah, it's just a massive idea joust.
Yeah,
all the time. So I'm someone says, who you got in the bullpen? I'm not saying just yet. We're gonna drop those shows.
It's gonna be funny, guys. He's gonna have like the topic and just like the silhouette of the person, and then you won't know who it is until they go live.
That's
right.
a good idea.
Yeah, and everybody's like, "What?" You know, it's like when CM Punk came back, which I was not happy about.
That's in. I want you don't know how bad, Mac. I want to show you because we have that scene in the movie of CM Punk yelling about how wrestling is fake, dude. This was the problem. This was the problem with the thing. I don't know why I'm saying this on air. I feel so stupid. If you guys want me to shut up, say shut up, and I will shut up and end the show. Just waiting for someone to say, shut up, man.
You're gonna get the next message is gonna be, where's that OnlyFans, bro? Come on. You made a promise last beyond the red zone, and it still ain't up.
Dude, it was too dense. It was too dense. There were parts of it that were just so dense. I was like, I think this is going to work better as a series. Imagine if the 12-part thing that you just did on Robert Bales, you made an hour and a half or 2-hour series.
God, there'd be so much missed. We probably wouldn't even be able to have full interviews with like the lower enlisted. You know, having the series, I think a series is a better way to go, especially when you're trying to address a large topic and like one that has a lot of depth to it.
I didn't think the script was that deep.
Bro, you're talking about professional wrestling, dude.
There's a
haven't seen the script. Could have told you were wrong. Like, you know,
there's a whole chapter about the Montreal screw job.
Oh, that's gonna be beautiful.
And when he played, he was like, I had to take that out, and this is still 2 hours.
Dude, yeah. I mean,
it's just too dense.
Yeah, there's a rich history with a lot of personalities and a lot of really good shit, but some really dark shit, you know, that you want to kind of cover.
Oh,
you know?
dude, we have the OJ shit and Scott Peterson shit, and it was too much, and I was like, oh, I get it. You're right.
Yeah, Virtuoso, I'm gonna tell you right now, the minute that PLE ended, and I hear, keep in mind, he picks as his theme song one of my favorite songs ever written. And I hear it hit, and I'm just like, fuck. I sat in my chair and I'm just like, this is and then he comes out, you know, and he's in Chicago, so everybody's just like, CM, you know. What I loved the most was on TikTok, Seth Rollins, I knew he was probably playing it up, but he's sitting there flipping him off. And then Rhea Ripley, because, you know, CM Punk's thing is always tapping his wrist like he's got to watch it. Rhea Ripley goes, you know, right to him. And I'm just like, and then he gets on the next Raw, and he's just like, I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to make money, but I'm back home. And I was like, oh, dude, fuck you, man. Fuck you. I wish Billy Corgan still had enough money and you could just go fuck off in NWA and leave me alone.
Did I tell you that I was talking to JG at Parallax, and he lives in Florida, and he goes to the NWA matches, and he says Corgan is just sitting there taking tickets and no one even realizes.
Dude, yeah, and that's the thing. Like when CM Punk got fired by AEW, they went up to him and he was like, they were like, hey, are you gonna sign CM? And he's like, well, like I'll get him a sandwich. That's about all we have the budget for, you know, like. And then I don't know if you saw, he was getting ready to sign a huge deal with CW that would carry Power, like their weekly show, and like a couple other things. And then at their pay-per-view, like they had this little skit where they had a poker table set up and there were a couple personalities there and like all these scantily clad women. And one of the personalities, you see him like cutting up a powder, like he's getting ready to like take bumps. And CW immediately pulled the deal. Immediately.
That's fair.
Right? And CW just signed a deal with WWE. So I think SmackDown's moving over to CW or something like that. So like Corgan's just kind of like left with his dick in his hand because where else is he going to put their shit? You know, like he can keep doing. he can keep doing it on YouTube, but he's not making any money doing that. You know, there's a reason Nick Aldis, who was the NWA heavyweight champ, left, and he's now just like he's the general manager of SmackDown. He's not even wrestling anymore. He left to take that job because he's getting paid more. You know, like Matt Cardona, who's the king of the indies and is like a champ in like 15 fucking independent wrestling federations. It says, you know, straight up and down, and says, you know what? I'll keep sticking to the indies because I show up, I wrestle, I make fucking money. He's like, but you will never catch me in NWA. Fuck that. They don't pay us shit, you know? And it's just like, you know, like Corgan, bro, I get it. You're into pro wrestling. You kind of fucking screwed the pooch with Impact or TNA or whatever they're fucking back to calling themselves. And you're like, hey, I can buy NWA. There's a lot of history there. People are going to watch. And it's like outside of like Florida and a couple other states, nobody does. You know, they watch the big ones. And I just like, bro, I wish Punk would just fuck off there, man.
It's a hard, you know. I was watching that Billy Corgan interview. I fell down rabbit holes of Billy Corgan interviews. And I'm so sorry that we're talking about Billy Corgan on the show.
Yeah.
Nothing against the guy. I did not listen to Smashing Pumpkins growing up. I didn't care for them for no reason other than I thought they were a band that just wasn't going to like. And
my best friend in high school loved them. And I'm like, this band sucks.
I was, you know how sometimes Spotify actually will play stuff that doesn't suck when they do like discovery.
Yeah.
And I don't know how, whatever, you know, soft music, I was a Radiohead or something. Somehow, Smashing Pumpkins came on. And I was like, what is this? I was like, oh, this is dope. And so I kind of fell down this rabbit hole of watching Billy Corgan interviews. And one of the things he had said was in the 90s after Kurt Cobain died, Smashing Pumpkins was one of the biggest, if not the biggest rock band on radio.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh, okay, so Billy Corgan cashed some very large checks.
Oh, yeah.
Some very large checks in his life. And I can see how someone like that doesn't understand like losing. In the sense of like, oh, maybe this isn't going to turn out the way your other ventures have turned out. Like that's just not how this is going to roll for you, brother.
Yeah, and especially taking on NWA, which he's trying to turn into like one just massive like wrestling federation when it's not what it was. It was a group of regional groups that worked together, you know, and whatever, man. We could talk about this for hours. I don't want to bore people.
Wrestling is a very interesting sports ecosystem that I think it gets looked down upon by people because of the outcomes being preordained. That people don't get involved with the storylines, and there's this view of people that are fans of wrestling, like, well, these people are stupid because they believe it's real. It's like, no one that watches wrestling thinks it's quote unquote real. There's just entertaining storylines. Historically, there's been entertaining storylines.
Yeah, and amazing athletes. The first organization when they passed the NIL shit to get out and start signing collegiate athletes, WWE. First one. The Cavender twins have an NIL deal with WWE. And the one that's not playing basketball is down at the fucking performance center.
Learning how to wrestle.
Yeah.
There's people here, like wrestling is very serious here in Mexico, pro wrestling.
Oh, dude, AAA down there is fucking amazing.
I didn't know how serious it was. And there's this bar I've been watching football games at. And the guy that runs it manages a few wrestlers in Mexico City and even a few up here in northern Baja. And we got into this really interesting conversation about wrestling. And, you know, if there's not a game on, I go there and he's watching wrestling and he's like, dude, look at these moves. And it's like, I think people forget about the pageantry of the sport. And like you said, the athleticism of some of these, especially smaller guys.
Oh, yeah.
And the moves they're doing. Virtuoso says pro wrestling is a religion in Mexico. I honestly, Virtuoso, I didn't know that. And had the kid come over earlier, we probably would have done some recording because there's actually a toy museum in TJ, and upstairs is a pro wrestling museum.
That's fucking rad.
It's pretty cool. We probably would have done some interviews and talked to some people, maybe just for some bonus footage. But the kid got here. Can I tell you this story and then I'll go?
Yeah.
I was supposed to tell this tomorrow in the champagne room, but I'll just tell it now. No one's watching. We've been on for 3 hours. No one's watching. No one's here. No one's here. We lost them at fart jokes.
I think we probably had a big influx because people.
I told the kid, originally the kid was going to take the train to San Diego and I was going to pick him up. I thought he was taking this trolley that is right by the border. And he goes, nah, dude, and I was like, you know what? I can't pick you up from downtown San Diego. The traffic to get across the border will take me 4 hours. Walk across the border. You know, Kenzo was down here. Kenzo Shibata came down, hung out. And I said, we'll meet you on the other side. And, you know, we'll hang out in TJ for a bit. He goes, oh, this sounds cool. So the kid gets off the train in San Diego, takes the Uber down. On our way to the border, you got to walk across, I don't want to say a shady side of town.
But we did see a donkey just hanging out outside a bar.
Well, we saw a dead person.
Oh, yeah.
So there's municipal police and military police around this dead person. They're like poking him with a gun, like making sure he's dead. They've taped off the whole area, and he is indeed dead. There's a dead man on the side of a pharmacy, and of course, there's pharmacies everywhere, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, "Fuck, dude, it's a dead guy," and I'm kind of feeling weird about that because it's just weird to see this a dead dude and no one tripping. The ambulance is there and everyone's kind of like, yep, you know, he's dead. No sense of putting him in the ambulance. Where are we gonna take him?
They just put him on the hood.
Yeah, like what are we gonna do with this guy?
Yeah.
So we go get the kid. We meet him at the border and we walk back across. And I'm like, well, we can go back to Rosarito or we can hang out here for a little bit. It was like Friday night. No, sorry, Saturday night. TJ is popping. It's comfortable outside. You know, it's just a great vibe. The kid, he's a kid. He's like 28. And he's my first time in Mexico, man. And he's got this ear-to-ear grin, Mac. And just happy. And we're walking. Good-looking kid, man. He's got his little suitcase with him. He can't wait. He's like, Jason, I brought an extra monitor. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. And, you know, it's Mexico. And in Mexico, there's just holes. There's holes in the ground for no reason.
Oh, did he eat shit?
There's holes in the ground, man.
Oh,
I can laugh about it now.
But you thought you lost him for like 3 minutes?
I thought he was... Man. We walk by the dead body.
Oh.
The dead body's still there. And there's like less cops, but now they're just all playing on their phones.
Yeah.
And when I say cops, I mean the military.
Yeah.
The municipal police are gone. It's just the military. And they're just playing on their phones. Apparently, what I found out, they're waiting for the coroner. And apparently the coroner takes forever to get there. The coroner's like smoking a cigarette.
Dude, well, I mean, I imagine he's a busy man.
Mac, this kid, it's not a manhole cover, but you know those like little rectangles in the sidewalk that, you know, you can see that there's usually like a tool to open it and it leads to some sort of, I don't know what it's called.
Yeah.
That was gone. It's and it's dark. Where we're walking, no one's hanging out there because we have to get back to town, to Revolution. And his leg disappears down this hole.
Oh, fuck.
And he had just said, yeah, I got new Crocs for the trip. Like, you know, these young kids love Crocs. Mac, everything flies. Fucking Crocs in the air. The suitcase goes one way.
Oh, no.
But the way he fell in the hole, because he went all the way. Because he was like, hit those happy steps. You know what I mean? his leg went all the way in the hole, and all I saw was at the ankle bone, right above the knee, I saw it bending forward.
Oh,
So you know what I did? I did what any father, older brother type character would do.
push him deeper in the hole.
I started screaming. Because when the kid fell, like the military guys turned around because just shit just flew in the air. And Croc went so high.
One of the military cops gets hit with the croc. He's like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, they were like, they looked over. He's like, "Eh." So I thought he broke his leg. So I started screaming. I was like, "Lord, Lord!"
Someone bring me a Jesus candle. I have to light it right now.
Mac, all I could think was, because he's around my kids. He's met my kids.
Oh man.
I'm like, he's my kid's age. He's my responsibility.
And you got him down into a foreign country, and
I got him in a foreign country.
And he broke his leg so poorly it has to be amputated at a hospital in Mexico.
And I was thinking, how am I going to take him to a hospital in Mexico? I don't think this kid has any medical coverage. Like, I'm not thinking about his well-being. I'm just thinking about now him and the dead guy across the way are the same person. Because the way he fell back, he fell, and then his whole body, he's like 6'2", 6'3", so his whole body just fell down. Just like, I was like, Lord, Lord, and his glasses were all over the place. So I just have his glasses, I'm like, no.
Someone just comes out of a storefront and puts a sheet on him, like, you got another one.
It's a 2 for tonight.
Yeah. Poor kid, just like, I'm not dead. Yes, you are. Shut up.
Sorry, shut up. He grabs his leg, he pulls his leg out of the hole, and I'm with my good friend, she's a little rough around the edges. We call her Shaka Connie. It's Shaka Connie. Because again, she's just trying to find where one of the crocs went. She's got a croc in one hand,
open suitcase in the other.
Yeah. And she looks at him, she goes, "Did you break your leg?" And the kid goes, No, I didn't break it, but it really hurt. She goes, "Oh, you're fine then." So the kid is just writhing in pain on the ground. And there you can kind of see a dent on his shit.
He fell so hard he dented Crocs. Like that defies physics.
Mac, I was trying to blame everything on like the Crocs and not Mexico. This wouldn't have happened if you had Jordans on.
If you would have had a nice hiking boot, you would have been fine.
If you would have had Tim's on like a good black New Yorker, this wouldn't have happened. But you moved to the West Coast, you try to fit in. Racism is the reason why you got these Crocs. These Crocs are anti-black. So this kid, he's just
son, are you working in a kitchen? Why are you wearing these things?
What are you wearing this goddamn? You know how like young kids try to dress like fucking dorks now? Like that's like the new hot shit.
Yeah.
Like you just wear baggy clothes and Dockers and fucking Crocs. Like he had the whole goddamn someone says hard lesson on infrastructure. That's all I was thinking. All I was thinking was like, why, Lord? I was like, why? I started yelling, Mac. I had no idea why I turned into Whoopi Goldberg in the color purple when this thing is happening. All my life I had to fight. I'm looking at the whole, do you do right by me? So,
oh my god. Oh, that's the new character. Jason is Whoopi. That's another one to add.
Whoopi Goldberg. Unnecessary. Jason's unnecessary Whoopi Goldberg. Next time I put a little Sugar Avery pea in his lemonade. See how he like that.
So we need the artist to to draw him in like the 18th century clothes with just his face. He's just screaming and tears are streaming down his
Me and you must never Mac. Mac, this fucking kid is writhing on the ground in pain, right? And so, you know, again, Connie's like, well, you're fine then, right? This kid goes, I'll be okay. He goes, it's just, he was an athlete too. He goes, this is the leg where I tore my ACL.
Oh, fuck.
I'm like, fuck me. This kid, I was like, well, you know, like, there's a ton. I'm like, sounded like a preacher in a 90s movie that's standing over a kid that got shot in a drive-by accidentally. Like, I told him if it just put the crack down. Lord, please save young Cephas Brown.
If he didn't have the Crocs on.
And so he eventually gets up, right? And he goes, okay, I can walk on it. And I'm like, I'll you know, he's got a backpack, you know, Shaka Khan, he grabs the backpack. And his crock is in the hole. There's one crock that's in. And I'm looking at him and I'm like, I don't think they're gonna make it.
Just drop the other one in the hole next to it. You know?
I turned into a fucking Italian doctor's assistant. And he wasn't gonna make it. And there was nothing we could do about it. He's gone. Your crock's gone.
Yeah. Oh man.
So the kid kind of looks over. He gets his glasses back on, right? And he looks over. I'm like, man, I gotta get this crock. Connie's like, fine, man. She grabs my phone and she has a flashlight. She goes, just get it. There's no rats. Fuck. What's wrong with you? There's fucking no rats. I was like, Connie, I saw 5 rats walk by marching around a dead guy.
They were carrying the body away. The coroner sent him out there to pick it up.
They were complaining about the slow response from the coroner.
Yeah, and they were like, it's starting to smell here, guys. Can we...
Any hole you see, okay, I shouldn't start off.
Jason, any hole I see, huh? Any hole I see, do what? Are we spitting ping pong balls out? Right? Are they doing the Canadian trick that I saw when I went to Windsor, where this woman squatted on a stack of loonies and dropped them out one at a time?
I wish she could have done that and sucked up this crock. So I would have been very impressed. I would have paid whatever she needed for that. I stuck my hand in the hole and I get the crock out. And I was thinking to myself, this kid's not going to wear it. And he's like, oh, okay. And he's like, and so I'm like, are you okay? He goes, it hurts a bit, but I think it's not broken. And I look at him and I'm like, well, we were hungry.
Can you still eat?
Can you walk a little further? Because there is a great place.
Yeah, and then when we're done eating, we'll just slip over to one of the 38 pharmacies on this street, and we'll get you some ibuprofen, bud.
We hung out till like midnight. The kid goes, if you just give me a beer, I'll be fine. And we forgot to give him the preface that beer is a 40 ounce out there. So we posted him up at...
All right, man, we're going to get your leg elevated. You just stay right there.
That's what we did. That's what we did. It was swole as big as his thigh. But somebody said, you wear Crocs, don't you?
And see, what Jason's not telling you is after he drank this 40 ounce of Mexican beer, he shot across the street and spent $2 on a wheelbarrow. And that's how this poor kid got.
That poor kid. Oh my God. We walked all over Tijuana with that kid. So we couldn't figure out where our car was parked. In the red light district. He had a ball.
Oh man.
He had a ball. But
You
yeah, I
know-
just wanted to tell you that story. That's
You know
true.
who else had a ball in the red light district? The stripper that didn't shoot out ping pong balls, but tennis balls.
But
And for an extra $5, you can sit out there with a racket and volley with her.
I wish you could have seen his little face. I wish you could have seen his face. He was just so like, you ever see those movies where the small town kid goes to New York? These lights sure are bright. He saw a dead body, fell down a hole, then traversed through the entire red light district. Then we just set him up in a heavy metal bar.
Dude, that's a good introduction to a country. I'm sorry. Like, that's a good time. You know, I mean, it could have been worse. Like when I went to Estonia, the first day, everybody just looked at us like, why are Americans here? And then we had this dude who picked us up in a cab from the airport in Tallinn, took us into town, and was with us for the next 4 days. I'll show you all great places. Yes, great places. All right, where are we going? We go to bar. It's 10 a.m. Okay, we eat and then go to bar.
And then go to bar.
Right? And the thing is, it's like nothing that he wanted to show us was in walking distance. And when he took us to bar, he would have drinks too. So we're in the back of this tiny like hatchback, me and 3 other dudes. And he's like just blaring like some kind of like Russian rap music.
Oh, that sounds like a nightmare.
And he's just like, you know, we're just like, well, we don't have to worry about dying in Afghanistan because we're going to die here.
Right. In Estonia.
Yeah. And like, he's like, I don't know. They drive like fucking psychos. But dude, it was so rad because after the first day getting, why are there Americans here? It was, there's Americans here. And like, we didn't get, like, we stayed in like this, it would be like a 5-star hotel here. And it cost me $20 a night. And I'm talking 24-hour kitchen, amazing food. I think, I mean, I was drunk damn near the whole time, but I think I maybe spent $100 on booze in 4 days and was just smashed the entire time. Everything was cheap as fuck. The minute we flashed American dollars, they were like, "Ho, okay." You know, like we can do business. So we'd roll up and be like, there's like this, I don't know if it's like a form of vodka, but it's like an Estonian liquor that's like really similar. And it was delicious. I would drink it straight. And like, I'd ask, like I went up to the bar and I was like, can I get one? And they're like, yeah. And I pulled out like a $10 bill and dude, he gives me 2 bottles.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And I just give him the 10 and then I put like another 5 down as like a tip. And he's like, no. And I was like, it's for you. And he's like, well, fuck me.
You are right.
You know,
you must want to drink till you can't see.
Yep. You know, and it was so fucking rad and everything was so cool. And I hooked up with like the hottest chicks I've ever
Okay. Can't admit that we have personal lives.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I don't anymore. This was some years ago. This was like 10 years ago, 15 almost. Oh, that's sad. My globetrotting days.
They call you a passport, bro.
Yeah, well.
That's what Steve calls you. Steve would call you a passport, bro. Steve calls me one. I'm like, how? I live here.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I went because I got mid-tour leave. And I could fly Space A, military aircraft, into air bases. So I flew into Germany. I put down $50 for a train ticket. You know, I'm in another country. It was so fucking rad, man. And it just, that's what me and like 3 other dudes did. We're like, well, we don't want to go back to the US. You know, like.
You got to be a well-off white person to do that.
Yeah. So we just hung out in Eastern Europe, you know, marveling at Soviet era architecture and kind of like the dichotomy of like, you still have all these like old Soviet era buildings, but like where they knocked a couple down, they've like set up like the KFC, you know, like
Which is so fucked up when you see capitalism fucking everywhere.
Yeah,
Matt.
and don't get me wrong, I smashed some KFC when I was in Germany. It was fucking delicious.
Ugh.
I won't eat it here in the States. I will eat it
Oh.
overseas though.
I can't. I live in Mexico. We don't have Popeyes. They just have KFC. I'm like, I won't do it. I won't do it.
I will not lower and debase myself by eating KFC, but I will let you nut all over me for $10 a month on my own time.
Can't believe. I'm still trying to get you down. Hopefully, we'll get some super chats for the Get Mac to Mexico fund.
And fingers crossed, I can land another big project because we still have a couple of them up that are pretty rad. One of them is like how big time soccer in like large cities have like a white collar club and a blue collar club. Why did that happen? Right. So like we want to go into some of that. And there's also we're trying to pitch a project like Bales, but about Marge Schott.
Ooh.
So we got some feelers out for that. And if that comes, that one I think will be bigger. And we have like, I have big things planned. Like I'm going to drive to Cincy and do like Man on the Streets. And like at around 5 p.m., I'm going to go to a dive bar and say, hey, do you mind if I record you telling me the biggest story that you remember about Marge Schott? And just like opening up every episode with like a snippet of those before we get into like the more formal interviews and stuff. Like, so like I'm hoping
to interview Eric Davis.
I'm good. Yeah, dude, he's on the list. Like literally the Reds big players, Eric Davis, Dibble, Sabo, Barry Larkin.
Barry Larkin.
Yeah.
Wasn't that who she was talking about? Or was she talking about Eric Davis?
She's talking about Eric Davis. And Paul O'Neill, who we thought would be rough to get, but he seemed very his representation seemed open to talking about it. So
don't forget to talk to Todd Benzinger.
Dude, I'm building a list right now.
Didn't Benzinger play on those teams?
Yeah. And my producer's like, we have to pare it down. I'm like, I get it, but it doesn't hurt to do all these interviews. And if we don't use a lot of it, we don't use a lot of it. You know, like, so like I'm hoping we actually had that one sold and then a big company backed out, which really fucked us because we had already started like doing like line item stuff for how much it would cost for travel, you know, like a sound crew to hire and all this stuff. But, you know, so hopefully I can get another big one of those because those are nice. Those are really nice.
Todd Benzinger, if I'm not mistaken, played for the Giants towards the end of his career.
I believe so.
And when he played for the Giants, Barry Bonds was on that team. And Rick, who's the big writer for Sports Illustrated back in those days? Rick O'Reilly, is that his name?
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Yeah, I believe you're right.
He wrote that scathing piece about Barry Bonds having his own chair and being a real just difficult diva.
Yeah.
Benzinger wrote a letter to the editor that if you have the follow-up of that Sports Illustrated, so it's the issue with Barry Bonds was on the cover, and it was like this whole article about how he's a horrible guy and Jeff Kent hated him, blah, 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 blah. And the following week, there's a letter to the editor. They published from Todd Benzinger, and he was like, I played on those teams, and I got to know Barry Bonds. And while he wasn't the greatest teammate of all time, he really wasn't the worst.
Yeah.
And he goes, the Barry Bonds I remember came to my daughter's 6th birthday for a guy that just joined the team that he doesn't know, and he made balloon animals all day. Like, the stories that he told of Barry Bonds, he was like, basically his whole thing was like, that wasn't not a very even portrayal of the man.
Yeah. And Benzinger played for 5 clubs and did end his career in San Francisco. Also played for the Dodgers.
Never trusted turncoat.
Boston for 87, 88, Cincy 89 and 91, the Royals in 91, Dodgers 92, San Fran 93 to 95. And he's from Richmond, Ohio.
I thought you were going to say California.
No. Sorry, man.
Virtual says Barry was probably high that day. Maybe. Maybe he's high as a kite.
Dude, I heard stories of that Pittsburgh Pirates team he was on with like Bonilla and Sid Bream and all those guys. they had the same coke pipeline that the Cleveland Indians had at the time. Those guys were hopped up at all times. Fun fact, my dad was security for the Indians in the 80s, and that was his job, and he ended up getting arrested because he was moving quite a bit for the team, and he got pulled over.
Ooh, and he was the fall guy.
Mm-hmm. Just a security guy. He ended up getting it expunged, but yeah.
Was your dad like the security guy in that Niners Eagles fight?
No, my dad was the security guy who like babysat the players at the hotel and used it to cheat on my mom. You know?
Ooh, you are getting real.
I mean, my parents will both tell you they were horrible to each other. And like, I remember a couple years ago, my mom was like, "Man, I'm glad you ended up smart." And I was like, "Why did you drop me?" She's like, "No, I did a lot of cocaine like the first trimester. I didn't even know I was pregnant." I was like, "Oh my God."
I don't even know what you would say after
Dude, Jason, I was like, we were at dinner and I'm just like, what?
that. Happy Thanksgiving to you too, bitch.
Yeah. Thank you for trying to stunt my development.
Your mom was like this.
Be surprised how many people love the
That's right.
She was like, "Hey, shit,
Yeah, dude.
it's a hell of a time."
That's right. The Rust Belt, hell of a place in the 80s.
She was like, "I was wearing sparkly tops, going dancing."
Your dad was doing someone else. I was just out there enjoying my
I was
life.
out there enjoying myself. That's when you can have a flat ass and people think you was hot, son.
Mm-hmm.
It's a different time.
80s, man.
Feather my hair. I just didn't care. Didn't even know you were there. How's this shit?
Brightly colored. You know, a lot of leg warmers.
I love the nightlife.
I love to boogie. Okay, we gotta go. We're losing it.
I just picture your mom hitting that note right before she does a bump. Woo! Margie, you could be pregnant. Oh well. This motherfucker's gonna know how to party.
I mean, I may have put a couple pounds on, and it's all in your uterus. Yes.
Virtuoso says my mom probably screwed Lupinella.
Well, I mean, apparently women thought he was attractive in his playing days. You know, to each their own. I don't judge, right? Jason's into tennis balls, formed in an angle. Your mom, Virtuoso, apparently was into Lupinella. That's okay. This is we don't kink shame and Beyond the Red Zone. Okay, we don't do that.
I can't wait to get the comments from the show. I'm gonna send you some. I'm just gonna fucking.
It's gonna be funny when like the token white conservative woman that listened but never like get on the chat, it like drops like a fucking whole paragraph or two on you.
Yeah. This is the worst. Yeah.
While their politics are a little offensive, they are spot on with their sports, and it just devolved into debauchery towards the end of this episode. No one should listen to this in front of their children like I did.
Oh,
Don't
wow,
make
you're
that
an idiot.
mistake. You know?
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah, don't bring your
Oh
kids
God,
there.
don't do that.
Yeah, don't.
Are you that? I'm okay. I'm not gonna get it. Okay, thank you guys for hanging out with us. we are gonna go, and Mac's gonna try to get some sleep. I'm
That's
not.
So yeah, because
I'm
Jason's
gonna-
a busy man.
I got to finish getting ready for this week. Vincent Bevins is coming on this weekend.
No shit.
Yeah,
Oh, that's so rad.
but
That is
all
so
right.
fucking rad.
See you guys tomorrow night. We are out.